Alright, guys, let me just turn this down. And it is Tuesday, December 13th, CPI Day. First of all, before we get too far, if you want to contact me, ask me questions, anything like that, on Twitter, follow me at RedBenTrader. I do trade in the Trade and Perform Futures room. Currently, we are full. For the year, but come in January, you may be able to join if you're interested in learning more. You can contact my coach who runs the room, Simon. His email is trade, the letter N, the word perform at gmail.com. I've been told we don't have any space left in the room currently, but you can almost be added to a waiting list to get the 5-day free pass. So it would have to be postponed until January, but at that point we'll see what we can do. It's just getting a little bit busy in there, and we want quality more than quantity. So we're just kind of evaluating how things are going at this size, and then if we're gonna continue expanding more, we will. But we like it small. We've only we've got a limit basically of 30 members, and it works better that way. That way everyone can have some personal interaction and individual training and stuff, and keeps everyone on the same page. So what we're going to look at here is my version of the Trade and Perform algo. So the Trade and Perform algo looks like this. It's basically an execution tool that helps us identify locations and execution timing, basically. Not just location, but also whether or not we should take the first test or the second test of a level. Things like that. It helps a ton. I've added some additional indicators to this one that everyone looks at from in Simon's room, and as well as some more signals. And I actually just added another one over the weekend that we're going to talk about, and that's what's creating this purple line here. It's this green circle, and then the inverse of that is a black circle inside the bar. It's a, like I said, I don't really go into, there's really no reason you have to know exactly what they all mean, but what they're all doing is they're reading this. They're reading the footprint, and I'm telling it to look for certain qualities in this data set. Right? So when this is present and this is present and this isn't, give me some signal, right? And so that visual signal then replaces my need to have the footprint on a screen where I'm constantly looking and trying to see is that a completed auction, and do we have a poor low there, and all the things I used to do visually and have to analyze on the spot. It's basically doing that for me. So the challenge is, over time, you want to know about so many different things that you end up getting a little bit busy with the signals. And as you can see with the Trade and Perform one, the one that this is based off of, it's really only about 4 signals. It's just there's an inverse for every signal. So for every purple bar, there's a pink bar. For every star on the bottom downside, there's a star on the top side. For every down triangle, there's an up triangle. So it does start to get kind of busy. But what we do is we add them one at a time, right? So you add one setup to your your trading plan, you master it, and then when you get that, you add another one if you want. Some people don't want, they just want to do the one setup and just keep going with that. And since I'm interested in not just trading all the signals, but also just the analysis of a new signal in general is actually kind of fun for me. I'm just messed up like that. I actually enjoy the work of getting an idea and being I wonder how often this works. And then going back and back testing it and being oh, but what about that other signal that didn't work before? What if I filter it through this one? Will it work then? Right? Just that systematic process is really rewarding. I don't know. And every once in a while you stumble on something kind of cool. Here, let me just turn off this divergence here. I'm always trying new things, and I absolutely hate this indicator on Sierra chart, the divergence detector. I loathe it, but I'm really trying to improve it and make my own, and it's not easy. So I turn it on and I watch it, but I don't actually use it because I've got the indicators down here, and I can just see the divergence. But in a perfect world, I'd like these to be gone, and so everything I'm looking at on these as well, I'd like to have coded into colors and signals. That would be great. Then I wouldn't have to do any additional analysis other than just finding the location and waiting for the pattern of colors or signals. That would be perfect. Right now I'm using the indicators in addition to look for things like divergence, not necessarily for trade setups, but just to get me oriented to whether or not I should be looking for a trade or looking for a long or a short and stuff like that. So yeah, that's something I'll work on in the future. Here, let me move you over here. I think you've. There we go. Okay. Something I'm working on, but like I said, I wish that Sierra Chart's divergent detector was better because then I could use that as a shell and work from it. And what I've had to do is I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to improve it. But right now, what it's looking like is I'm just going to have to build my own, which, like I said, is just kind of annoying. So on the left, we have the Renko chart for the NQ chart for the Nasdaq, and on the right, I've got the Renko chart for the ES. And this one, it builds a new Renko block in this every time you get 6 ticks to the same direction on the ES. And keep in mind, there's 4 points for every tick, right? So just 6 ticks builds a new block. So it's technically pretty fast. And then this one on NQ, I've got the 24 tick Renko chart, so it needs 24 ticks or 6 points to move to build a new block in the same direction. Otherwise, it's got to retrace that whole other block and go the other direction for 24 ticks. So and that's just the way Renko works. But the reason we use those levels in the room, it's the same thing on the Trade and Perform algo. Simon's my coach uses the same exact level numbers, like tick charts, and it has to do with how much you want to risk per trade. So all of our trade setups have a execution trigger that is either structural or else it's like one of these signals coming after another one or whatever, and every one of them, when they trigger only when a bar closes. Like if this was a long signal, the trigger would be when the bar closes, and then you determine whether or not that's a signal, and then your actual entry can be anywhere in the range of the bar. So like if the signal triggered here, you could get it immediately. Otherwise, you can wait for a retest on the next bar and then buy it. But wherever you buy it, the stop needs to go right below the low, or lower. But it can't be inside the bar. The stop has to be there, or else another support. If you're looking for like a bigger swing and you're adding to your position, you could technically put your stop down here. But generally, it's right here. And so that means that all of my trades have about the same level of risk. They're always going to be around 15 or 16 points on NQ, and they're never going to be more than like 4 or 5 points on ES. So that keeps things really regimented when it comes to how much to risk, what size to trade, and what I need to achieve to keep my risk reward good enough, right? We are using primarily mean reversion trades, so the kind of back and forth balance is better for our system than the straight up, straight down. So like today in NQ, oh here, let me turn these off. That's way too much stuff to look at. You can see I don't look at this chart all that often. So today we just had like the pre-market was all buying for CPI, and then they pushed on top of that Actually, they didn't. They opened here. They tried to take that high and they couldn't. They ran into this voodoo range level at 12,307 and reversed. And you can see that from there, we had one rotation here, and then it was just straight down again. And then we orbited the 12,117. So because of that, what we can do is we can actually move these fibs here. I'll just redraw these for you right now. Here's how I do it. So we got the voodoo range, you set those, you find a swing that is not a voodoo range level, and then you need a level that you've orbited over. And so in this case, it's 12,117.25, so I'll probably have to adjust this, but just give me a second to draw it. So 12,117.25 is where I want that anchor, right on the voodoo range level. And then the other anchor is going to be one of these highs. We just have to figure out which one is aligning the best. And this actually looks pretty darn good. So that's perfect. So that will do. Here we can double check. What is it on the next one down? That's actually pretty darn good too. Yeah, usually it's usually pretty obvious. I might have to draw this. No, I can't really do it the other direction, but I might have to find... I see what I can do. I can move this to here. Just to get more levels, we might need the other side. So I'm just looking for... You should see some confluence that's really obvious. And you don't want your other anchor to go on the voodoo range. Like, you don't want to put it here, because it's too close to the voodoo range level. So it's just going to give you the midpoints of the voodoo range level. We already can get that, right? We're looking for maybe the CPI low. There we go. That's not too bad. So we're looking for a level that the algos respected that wasn't on a VR level. It's not on the yellow level. And then what that can give us is some nice confluence. So 200% of that move is right at the high. So that suggests that these other levels will probably also potentially be respected. Not every time. You can't just sit orders there. But the way I use it is, if I'm looking for some balance here and I think there might be a rotation, and I'm like, oh, should I wait till 11,990.75, or can I interact? Can I look for setups earlier than that? So if I can draw the fib and it's like, oh yeah, the 38.2 is actually 1981. So right away it's like, all right, if I can get a 1981 signal, a signal at 1981, that triggers around there, that is probably my first opportunity. And then this white line here is actually from the higher time frame. I won't go into it, but it's also an important level for a different reason. So anywhere around here, we could get a potential signal. What it doesn't tell you though, when you're looking at levels, that's not going to tell you whether or not you should buy it there, or whether or not you should wait for a reversal there, right? That's going to be dependent on your read of what you expect to happen, and really where you think you have the best risk reward. I don't really care from my day trading perspective. I don't really care whether or not we close back at the highs or at the lows or whatever. It doesn't matter to me where we are even an hour from now. What I care about is, do I have a better chance of getting 10 points to the upside out of this level than I do of losing 15? And if I am confident with that direction bias, I can take that trade. So, but it's got to set up. It's got to trigger with the patterns that I'm looking for. And like I said, there's probably 100 different patterns you could technically use. I don't use that many. I've got two different types. The majority of them are mean reversion, but there's a few of them that are momentum continuation trades. But I don't have as many of those. But for the better mean reversion trades, the ones that work quite a bit, there's probably 4 that I could pretty much take anytime it's not doing this, going straight up. But when it starts doing this, now you have to be able to switch gears. It's kind of like if you're playing a game like basketball or hockey or soccer, or soccer, football, whatever. Not American football though, but where the defense and the offense is actually the same players, and they have to decide whether or not
they're playing offense or playing defense at the time. Um, like the forwards are always the ones who are taking advantage of the offense, but when the ball goes in the other direction, they're actually playing some defense, right? So we have to know when are we playing defense and when are we playing offense. And so when we start getting unidirectional like this, you don't want to be playing defense. You want to go ahead and like push that move as best you can. But when it's rotating back and forth like this, you can't be aggressively taking trades in one direction. You have to be conservative, either conservative on the direction that's not leading the market and aggressive on the one that is leading the market, or conservative on both is better. If you're going to trade both sides, then you can't be ultra, you can't take all the ultra aggressive trades because half of them are going to fail. Like whoever's losing that fight is probably those setups are going to fail. So this pink line here is something it's a new idea, right? What I'm finding is the market breaks through them, and then when they come back later on, that level becomes like new support often. It's here, I'll show you on like a cleaner chart here. The ES will be cleaner. So, because I don't trade it much. So if you look at ES, let's find, it'll be purple or pink. Okay, so see these purple lines, right? So initially, their tests don't really do anything, right? But once they break them, and then they come back, look where the rotation is. It's right off of the, here, if we do this. Like the top one didn't really get a reaction. Maybe it did right away on that star. That might count. But look how they lost that level, and then it returned and rejected, right, with the trend. And look at how repeatedly it rejected out of there. So that level actually stays good, is what I'm finding. Here, let's see if we got any more. We can trade ES. I never do ES, so there's less levels on ES. Here's another one. So look how they trade through it, and then they come back and they reject it, and then they came back to this one and rejected it. See that? So it's just an idea. I don't have it perfected yet. Here it is on the other side. This is the pink one, right? Once they trade through it, once they lose it, what you'd expect, this is going this way. So once they break it, what you'd expect is that they would need to bounce off of this to go higher, and they can't hold it. See that? So this one, maybe it worked here, but it then failed. And so from there now, what I'm curious about is, does this switch, or does it only work in one direction? I don't know. It's a totally new idea. These are some more. So let's see. Does this... Oh, I went the wrong way. That's not going to help. Okay. Does this play out later? They give it up. It rejects. They give it up the other direction. Do they bounce? No. See, it's only good. It looks like it's only good in one direction, which is interesting. And I don't even know like if that's consistent. No idea. But in one direction, they usually do at least try to save it enough so that that I can get a trade off. So here, if we'll do ES. Let me find one on this time frame. So these levels, the white ones, are from higher time frame. They're actually, that is a short at location. If you want to fight, it's aggressive, but that is technically a short. I'm not oriented to ES, so I'm not going to personally take it, but here, let me get my DOM ready in case it sets up better. But if you wanted to fight it, the location's right. The question is, how aggressive do you want to be? The more conservative play is to let them break under it and then take the retest of that level. That's much, you're going to have much higher win rate doing it that way, like not trying to pick the top. But if I had to guess where this is going to reverse, it's going to be around here. Oh, you know what though? We don't have any divergence. See, this is why I want to build that into the top chart, is because we don't actually have any bearish divergence on either of the indicators. So it may be very difficult to get any traction to the short side. Like even if they do drop it, you wouldn't be able to confidently hold runners, or I wouldn't be able to confidently hold runners, even though it's so extended. The mean reversion trades are not going to play out so more often than not. So it's yeah, it's not as good. Doesn't mean it's not going to work. It's just not as good. So what we probably expect is something like a retrace of this, right? Which would be great. I mean, it's a big extension, but we may need another high first. They may need to come up here, break it, and then reject. Either way, though, if we can get under it, either now or after another high, even if you went higher and you missed that short and it went lower and then bounced up and rejected, that rejection is going to be the better trade. Now, you don't always get that opportunity, but what we really would need here is a close that's where the high is lower than this important level. That would be the confirmation that bears are in control and we should no longer be looking for longs. Let's see if we get it. Do we have a similar situation on NQ? Because I know there's a level here. Oh, we didn't reach the higher time frame level. Interesting. So, but we did get the purple one. That's right. That's why I started talking about that. So I do not see these purple and pink levels reject on the first try very often. That's interesting. I don't know how often it happens, but I don't see it very often. So if I had to guess, I'd say NQ probably has one more extension, if I had to guess. And that probably means ES does too, but who knows? We'll put it way over here so I can kind of keep an eye on it, but I guess okay. But we can focus on ES because I always do NQ, and it's like I said, my NQ chart is busy with like all these other ideas, so that the ES might be easier to read. If it can stay nice and volatile, ES is great. The problem with ES is sometimes it gets really slow and you just don't get very many good opportunities, whereas NQ is always wiggling. So but look at these nice little moves. This is what you want to. This is if ES is doing this, you're good. And the tough part is if you're normally trading NQ, and these are also fine to trade. See, but it doesn't always do that. For us, I mean, for our methods. NQ is just the better trader for us. But if you're trading momentum, you're going to find ES way easier. And if you're using if you're reading the footprint manually, NQ is really hard. Really hard. Without the algo giving me signals, I wouldn't touch NQ personally. It's just too fast. You have to make decisions so quickly. With ES, you at least the bars don't print. Look at how many more bars you get. I guess in this case, ES really is moving quite a bit, but normally you get a ton of bars on NQ and 3 on ES, because a 10-point move on ES is a big deal. That's a 10-point move, and here we've gone 30. So that aggressive short did work. Like I said, I did not feel confident taking it, and especially there's nothing over here other than this level. There's no signal at all here. So that's interesting. And so far, no retrace. Where's all the volume? Oh, at the low. So that's why we're going down there. We're headed down to that low volume node. It's the micro composite VPOC, and it's sitting right in a low volume node from the footprint. So that's probably where they're headed. Oh, there's also another level here. I forgot all about this one. They could bounce it here. I don't think that's the high. I'll be honest. I don't think that's the high of the afternoon, but it could be. It's just this is unusual for it to get such a nice extension here and not continue on. Let me just mark another level. It's right here. I can move. Well, no, it's not the same. So it's the pink bar, and we'll color it red. So on this time frame, it'll only work on this tiny time frame. Closing below that red and then rejecting it would be technically a short. It's just you have to have risk reward, but you could do it. It might, it could work. These shaded areas are also on this time frame, and it's just anticipated neutral zones. So they tend to go from one side to the other of these, and then when they here, let me, I'll show you quick. So where's a good example of this? I've got a lot of them, as you can see. So okay, so see how they built these two. They built this and they built this one, right? And look how it rejects out of that one, then comes under this one and turns around, comes over it. See how it like rotates from one to the other? And then they hold it here with just purple bars underneath. And the purple bars are weak to the downside, pink bars are weak to the upside. And that gets them all the way through this earlier one. And then they come back in and they bounce off the bottom of that with purple bars. So when you have purple bars at the bottom of these shaded areas like this, if the next bar has aggression and you're not fighting a trend, an impulse move like this, assuming it's not trending, right? It's got to be balanced or consolidating or something. But when it is, those levels will become tradable with the pink bars and the purple bars landing at the edges. So like it's hard to see because there's so many of them on top of each other. But let me just clean it up quick. Where is this one? You want to get rid of the old ones. This one appears to be not performing at the moment. So let's do those. So pink bar at the top, reject. This one's in the middle, but it's at LVN. Purple bar at the bottom, bounce, right? And then they held the top of this neutral zone, surprisingly, here. Tested back into it, bounce. Note they have that purple line that is not, look at how they bounced off of it. It has not yet gotten broken. Usually, they break, they come back, they reject. That would be normal. So if they get that far down right now, I'm probably wrong about going back to the highs. Not the highs of the day, but this nearby high might be toast. Oh, you know what? They closed a bearish bar underneath the VPOC. Let's check ES. What's the ES situation? They're not perfectly aligned. Where's all the volume? I think it's this one. Yeah. Looks toast. So that means that this probably seeing volume below the micro composite VPOC, and this was actually a double distribution, but seeing them put in sell volume below that pink line makes getting back up here really tough. So why are these all yeah, it looks toast. That's unfortunate for me, not because I'm not long, but it's unfortunate because it just means I don't get a setup other than the really aggressive one that didn't even show up on NQ as anything. And bouncing off that pink line is interesting. I'm definitely going to look into that after hours. It's a brand new signal. I need to, I don't know if I need to filter it further or how to use it, but it's pretty cool. It's all I know. It's just like, I need to know what to feed, what data, as far as like how often to take it. Do I take it right when it prints? Do I take it on the retest? Like stuff like that takes time to figure out. Thankfully with a team of people, it's not as hard, but so see how this white, they're trying to bounce off this white one. I would prefer that this was purple, but for now we may get a scalp back up to that micro composite VPOC, that pink line here. Very possible. It's not going to, I mean, I would need a star like this. A white star would be like a really aggressive play, but technically I would need to get all the way down here to set up a really good mean reversion trade, and that puts us too far away from the level. So there's really not a great way to buy this, which probably means it's going lower. There's not a great way for my system to like get triggered on this bar, and that's usually a sign that we're not done yet. but we'll see. I mean, the level is good. So if you're the type of trader that can just blindly buy levels, feel free. I'm not. That's not the way I roll. Oh, did it set up on NQ? This is the problem with watching both. At a voodoo range level, that actually looks pretty good. But it did get underneath the neutral zone. Let's see what it does. If they pink bar star down, it could absolutely get crushed. Oh, interesting. So we got the speed trap here. So they have to print a bar above this range. Here, I'll put a line there. We have to print a bullish bar. Oh, here. See that 1179 right there? That guy is currently trapped, and we need to free him for this to release. So we need the market to get above that with a bar that's not pink. I know that sounds confusing, but believe me, it's not that hard. We just need to get a white bar up here or a green bar. And it's got to have we got to get the yellow line above that big delta. And that way, he can be released. Because he got trapped. And it does not look like, so like I said, if this is a star, it's an aggressive short. Really aggressive though, because you're right into this support. What I'm seeing, most likely we are going to test this low. I don't know if we're going to go much lower than that. See now, okay, if we get, it's no star, so there's no entry. Oh, interesting. So buyers are giving up. They're pulling their orders. That's what the purple means. If we can get under this, oh, now we got an arrow. See, that sucks. We have to now, they're trapped. We need to get back up here. Otherwise, it's not going to bounce. And like we're far from it. So now we're going to have to trap a short probably. This is not going to bounce. I'd love to be short. I just didn't have a setup. Too bad. If this would have been a star, it would have technically been another one. But aggressive, but it did not. This is a good example where it's like, it just didn't fire. The arrow here might be vulnerable to get trapped. See all this red? If we can leave them behind, it could squeeze. Purple bar. Do we get green bar here? That would be, it's right at the level. Again, you're trading against the grain, but oh, interesting. Volume anomaly. I would not touch that. Not for me. I don't, unless, no, I mean, it's really aggressive. Did you get 3 points? Let's see. 45, 50. No, you got 2. Yeah, that looked really dangerous to me. Technically, technically the algo triggered, right? But I used discretion to say I don't want to be a buyer after this rejection. Even though we're at location, this rejection was too heavy. We got volume underneath a very key level, making this white level shortable. So I don't really want to be a buyer if I would be willing to short right here. And like I said, that's just because I'm not gonna grab pennies on a train track, like it's not that important to me. The orange bar here, if it would have just had a little bit higher wick, could have been shorted, and I probably could have made an exception and taken it. But what we really wanted was contact with this white line. But these guys shorted so heavily, and this guy got so trapped that they didn't even have enough buyers to get back up to this level. So you'd have to be pretty aggressive. Oh, look at him backtest the voodoo range level. Oh shit! Hold on. Let me just take a look at this. This could go a lot lower. This could go a lot lower. Oh boy. Feeling a little FOMO all of a sudden. How much time we got? A whole hour. Well, that was NQ. Here's the S about trying to reject off the VR on a tiny time frame. See, they're just negotiating that level. You know what we can do? We can draw the fib on here too. Let's do that. Okay, so what is the orbiting level? Probably That's tough. This one for sure, right? So let's just do. Oops. Let's try something a little different. We'll say they orbited this level, and we'll try a couple different ones. Let me just see if that's lined up. Yes, it is. So that gave you this, and yeah, they're gonna crush this. That sucks. It just missed me. Yeah, that's okay. So our primary target now is back short, is into, well, the primary target would be 40, 24, 50. But we would see this one acted as support before, but they over, so I would not be surprised to see, what is this, 29 hold on a bounce, and then reject out of this one and break down here. If I had to guess, that's probably coming next. I just don't have a way to manage risk here. See, if you short this, it's okay. You just have to put your stop up here, and that kind of that's rough. But in retrospect, this is going to look like a really obvious short. Ooh, star down way at the lows. That's dangerous. No divergence. Maybe from a higher time frame. Oof, they might get trapped. Star down. Oh, star down, star up. So aggressive sellers at the lows and aggressive buyers responded, and they're trying to flip momentum, which is what that blue arrow means. It's not a buy signal on its own, but it's a sign of aggression. So we can now watch how they treat that aggression to get a sense of whether or not there's any chance that this is going to reverse. I'm not just going to blindly buy it because someone was aggressive, but if they respond to that aggression, like basically the bears are forced to respond, and that gives us critical information that I don't have to pay for. I can let someone else pay for that information, if that makes sense. Like, someone's aggressively trying to save this level. I don't need to follow them immediately, but if they can get this star trapped, in other words, see this big delta here, right? If we can, oh, actually, sorry, it's the other way around. It's this one. Which one is it? We would need to trap them. We need to get above 40, 42. And actually, we need to get the yellow line above that on a bullish bar. That's not pink. Yeah. So that's a high order. That's a high order. That's tough. Look at how much. So this bottom indicator here shows how much energy each side needs to push, or is pushing, basically. And so to get what you see. So for instance, here they're getting one bar, or if they, so let me think about it this way. If they close this bar bullish, when it's bullish, it's we're not going to know until they close it, but you always have to kind of be thinking ahead. If they were to close it bullish, the amount of energy it took to get those two bullish would be so much that most likely they would need to retrace. Well, they didn't even close it. So buyers are getting totally manhandled, is what that's basically, which is kind of obvious. But look how they can't even get it. They can't get the red line back into the green neutral zone. And every time they do, they get immediately rejected. But what you will see is when they actually do try to save the neutral zone, it's going to take a ton of energy. So you're going to see this red line turn green and extend really far above the zero line. And that is extremely difficult to sustain. It takes a lot of trade, a lot of buying. What's easier is getting some divergence like this. Now it's divergent. So if this is green, it's a little bit better of a play. Yeah, see, this one is better than this one. Hopefully you can see that. There's divergence on both of them. But here, we've got someone who we could trap here. We just need a little push. So this is the first one where I would if I liked this level and I wanted to be long, it's like, okay, this is a spot where I could actually be get behind giving it an aggressive try. But the easier way to trade it is to wait to see if it works and then buy the pullback. That's the higher odds trade. But But this was good enough. I guess I could have taken it, but let's just see what they do with it. It was definitely valid. Let me make sure I've got my DOM ready since it looks like it might actually set up. Let's see what they do with this. So they printed a pink bar up here where this guy was. These yellow stars being at the low makes them very vulnerable. They're aggressive sellers that they shorted in the hole, right? They sold at the lows. Then buyers began to give up, and immediately a big buyer aggressively shifted volume back up, and they followed him in. And now we're right at that level, that Voodoo range level. That's so important to overcome. And if they do, dips back into it can be bought. So that's what I want to see. But like I said, if you just wanted to sort of, it might not work 70% of the time, but if you wanted to take like a little bit better than a coin flip to see if you might be able to break this, the place to buy it is after this green bar prints right here. Then you'd have to take profit at like 3 points and then try to hold a runner and see if you might get 20. And you're not going to get 20 50% of the time, but you'll get 3 most of the time. Maybe 60% when it's this heavy. But it's a good signal as long as you can read the market and you have some divergence on the indicators. The chances you get 3 are pretty good. So I that was definitely in my playbook. I could have taken it, but I chose not to. I was honestly considering it. I just didn't have my DOM ready. And by the time I got there to like, I didn't have the order in. Let's say that I wasn't prepared with the order in. And once it triggered, you can see those the best trades. As soon as they trigger, they pretty much go. You've got a moment to kind of think about it. So here's the retrace, right? I would love it if we didn't print a pink bar first. The pink bar at that important level up here, at that resistance, sets up for an extension lower. So that suggests to me that we're probably not going to hold the level, especially now we've got another aggressive seller, right? So if you were bearish, this is where you short, but you're in the hole. So it's like, how much further do you think it's going to go? You need to have a clear target, because if you're wrong and this is the bottom, you're going to get squeezed to hell. So you need a hard stop right above this, and you need to be ready to take that stop and probably reverse, right? So it's really, really aggressive. But if, depending on the situation, if you were in a situation where you were like, look, I've got a target way down here at 2024. I think this is super bearish. Everyone got trapped up here, and I've got enough time in the day that I think we could easily get another 10 to 20 points to the downside. And I need an opportunity to get in as a continuation trade. You're not at location, but the algo identifies that the aggressors are the sellers, and that if you sell here, you're following an aggressor into the trade, which is way better than shorting anywhere else, basically, other than at location, like at the white. The white line would be preferable, but they missed it by just a little bit. So let's see what they do with this, because now we've got an aggressive buyer facing an aggressive seller. So if we just wait it out, if it bounces, we could have a really high odds trade set up. If it drops, we won't. To get the sell, you're gonna have to be aggressive, and accept that you're gonna get stopped a lot, because they're continuation trades. Continuation trades only work like 35% of the time, so you need to have a target that is significantly bigger than your risk, which is exactly the opposite from the mean reversion trades, which work a ton of the time. And so therefore you don't need to get 1-to-1 on every setup. It's okay if it's a little bit less than that. On a continuation trade, you'd never want to take a 1-to-1 continuation trade. So star down with a momentum shift is met with star up and a speed trap. So they're trying to trap this guy. I mean, they could do it, honestly. They have to close this one bullish. Purple actually isn't bad if they do purple bar and then another aggressive sign up. That wouldn't be so bad. But really what they want is push higher here. I don't know. Are they going to close over this though? Probably not. So yeah, this might not reverse. It's just the problem is you've got this guy. This is another zone here. You've got this guy acting as resistance. That guy got trapped. He had either a ton of volume or a volume anomaly in there, like a delta divergence or something like that. All get signaled as a pink or purple diamond outside the bar, and it's usually a sign to be cautious if you're fighting the trend. And once you beat those guys, they become resistance. So it's if you're trying to buy, it's a very natural place to place your target. And really, we really do need to close above this voodoo range level. This bar closed right on it. So, yuck. Continuation lower is what that suggests. Another momentum shift. Will they do it? Or are they just going to chop it around here for an hour? It looks to me like we're going to go a little lower. But buyers have an opportunity here. They just have to trap those stars. They have to get above the highs of these yellow stars that sold so aggressively at the lows. They have to break above this and close above this, and they just can't do it. Like, this guy will close at 40.41. That's not enough. They need this to be bullish and the next bar to be bullish. So, like, you need some aggression here. And right now I don't see anything. It's pink, meaning sellers are giving up. Sellers are pulling orders from the order book, but they might just be placing their orders higher. Right? You don't know if they're actually giving up. They're just pulling their orders from the order book at the moment. It could just be spoofing. And as soon as it goes right here to this resistance point, they aggressively hammer. And that's why pink bar followed by star, or pink bar followed by orange bar, or another diamond, or anything like that. That's why those are such good trade setups. So that pattern works so well as a continuation trade. See, if this is pink bar followed by star down, it's a really strong sell. They got 2 pink bars in a row. So that's the opposite of purple. Now buyers are pulling. No, I'm sorry, sellers. Yeah, sellers are pulling their orders on those pink bars. They're thinking, I can probably sell from higher. You just don't know how high. So it's not a trade signal, but it's a part of quite a few patterns. Because if you have sellers giving up and pulling their orders and then suddenly jumping back in with aggression, that's probably a sign that the trend is continuing. They got it. Did they get the yellow line above it? They did. So see how this yellow line is above the voodoo range level? So that is a trap. These guys are trapped now. What we want them to pull back and bounce off that level now. I guess it technically happened right here, but you didn't know for sure that they were going to get it. So now the hard part is, if they get back in here, it's probably done. But if we can get them to support that level and a buyer shows up here, it's probably good to go higher. Let's see. Again, they might just leave the area, in which case, wait for the next setup, because nothing to do. You don't want to chase it. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, these V reversals are pretty common. But remember, we did have a chance. We could have aggressively bought this, right? Like, and because of that, we could have also aggressively bought this as on a pullback. That's not wrong. It's just aggressive. You're just getting in without confirmation that the reversals happened. In retrospect, it looks really obvious, but at the time, you know that there's a good chance that they just reverse it. So you have to be okay with taking that stop. Like I said, the higher odds trade is to wait for this break, and then if they pull back into this zone again and bounce, when that structure shows up, it's almost always going higher. It just doesn't show up all that often. So you just have to decide, like, how aggressive do I want to be? How many stops am I willing to take in a row? Things like that. And like for me, that fluctuates depending on how I'm doing for the day. And like I'm not gonna give away like a good day. Like I had a good day across accounts. And then I don't know why the fourth one has $13, but I think that was from Globex. So, but I mean that's a good day for me. 1,600. I mean that basically that pays some serious bills. So I'm good with that. I'm not going to give that away on a questionable setup, on an aggressive setup. I'm not just gonna risk $600, on like a chance that I might get the low of the day with 40 minutes left in the trading day. But if I would have gotten the pullback I wanted here, in fact, it could still happen. Then we're good to go. Look at this big buyer here. See that all that aggression is probably these guys puking. They're like, okay, I'm out. See that it's on this pink bar most likely where everybody gave up. All the sellers just were like, peace. I'm not fighting this. And like I said, it's probably going higher there, but it's not by itself. It's not good enough. I'm not going to get it. You can't just buy all the pink bars and hold long until you win. Like that's not you'll get totally crushed if you do that, right? You need the pattern to be, it needs to be a combination of signals in a certain order. It's not just there's a green bar or there's a pink bar or whatever. Like you need to learn the pattern. And there's many of them. So you learn them one at a time. So purple bar followed by green bar would be an aggressive continuation here. It's really aggressive. But that's technically a long. I'm not going to take it though. See this neutral zone will probably get retraced. I want my longs to set up down here. And if you do take this aggressive trade, the problem with it is your stop goes right at the spot where you expect like them to trade. Like this is an important level on a higher time frame, and that like your stop goes like there, right above the level where it's like, oh, they might hold that. Like you're gonna get stopped a lot doing that. Will it sometimes rocket higher? Yeah, like. Yep. And if you got to catch everyone, there's no other option. But I'm not gonna aggressively buy right into this. Remember, this is resistance. These white levels are resistance, so I'm not gonna aggressively buy right into resistance, especially when they had an aggressive seller show up right at resistance. See, if you were still bearish, that star with a diamond at that level would be normally a really good sell. But the problem is there are trapped sellers at the lows keeping the market higher. So the aggressive trade works by like 2 points. It barely doesn't stop you out. It does work for, what? Is that 4 points? 50 to 52.75. I stand corrected. I would have put, if I would have bought it, I would have put 53 as my target. 3 points is my first take profit. So if this doesn't get 53, then that will go down as a loss. Now I didn't take it, but I mean, when I do my metrics, if it sets up valid and I use discretion to pass on it, it gets added to the book at the end of the day, and we see like, was my discretion accurate or not over the course of multiple trading days. And that way you can kind of decide, like if you know what your setups look like and you have discretion for taking them or not, it's not hard to figure out whether or not you should be using more discretion or less discretion. Because I know, like without any discretion, that the setups work like 60+% of the time without me doing anything, just waiting for the setup, the pattern, and just taking every single one, right? It's like 60% plus. But if I use a little discretion, I can increase that to like 72 or so on average. So, but I also miss good trades, right? Like the aggressive trades that I pass on pay 3 points pretty often. But to avoid maybe 10% of the time when it stops me out, I give up a couple really good aggressive plays. And that's a style question. It's psychological. It's like how many stops can I take in a row before I start making bad decisions? Well, if that number is low, you need to trade more conservatively because you might miss your very best setups because you took 3 stops in a row and then just like threw caution to the wind and stopped following your plan. So if that's you, then you're trading too aggressively for your confidence. Like you have to build confidence in your structure, in your plan, your process before you take all those trades. Because you're not going to be able to, I mean, or your process doesn't have a high enough win rate. That's also possible. Like the edge might not be working. So that one definitely worked. Speaking of working, it was 50, right? 50, right at the resistance to 53.25. So I would have gotten my risk off, most of my risk off, and I'd leave runners with it, and my stop would stay exactly where it was before, right under this green bar, which almost got hit, but not quite. So the stop stays there, and I would reach for probably 10 or an obvious target. Oh shoot, I forgot about this. That micro composite 54.75 probably acts as resistance. The micro composite VPOC probably acts as resistance. Are there any purple or pink lines over here that we got through? This one. So that would be the support. See that? How it bounces off of it and gives you a setup? Damn, I missed that. Oh fuck! Look how close that is. Jeez. So that's what I want to know. I'm gonna see after the market closes. We're gonna dig into that signal and see if there's a reliable way to trade it. We'll see. I do not know. I see it working, and I had to code it to figure out. So now that I've got it coded, it's just a matter of using my eyes to figure out like what do I want to input, like what criteria do I need to decide that the trade is valid. Wow, another purple bar, green bar. See, I totally want to buy this, but do you really have? Can you get 3 points here? Technically, it's a valid continuation trade. These guys are trapped. That's tough. Right into this high delta. Right into this guy. But, you know, if it goes, it goes. I'm going to wait. If they can pull back a little bit and nail this level, I'll buy it there, I think. Oh, I haven't been looking at ES or NQ. Oh, so NQ at a level here. Let's mark that. See what that does. Oh, that's a divergent high. Yes. Ooh. I don't want to buy. Unless they can lift these up. This is gonna rest. It doesn't mean short, but probably not a good time to be buying. Not to mention we only have half an hour left in the day. Actually, could it be a short? Wait a minute. Where's the high? Here. Yeah! That's kind of what I thought. Okay, so if they can get another bar underneath here and then come back up and retest and reject, that's actually a short. Interesting. That's not what I expected to see. Your target's back down here, though, and all those guys are trapped. I don't know if it works. Let me just see. Where's the wave off the low to the high? Oh, ES is very different. Oops, I didn't do that right. Okay. So the very last impulse move is up here. They couldn't get that yellow line below it without printing a purple bar or a bullish bar. It's probably still good to go up. It's probably still going higher.
Order filled.
Let's take it. Whatever. I'm buying it. So the stop goes underneath here. It's a good signal. If the trend is intact. So 47 is where my stop is. I want to get a quick 3. And then we'll see how much more. Just a little more. Oh, it missed me by tick. I almost exited too. I almost snuck out. Because we run over here. I probably can do it still. Shit. Oh, that sucks. I'm pretty sure I missed that exit. It almost filled me. I wanted to get those Okay, let's see if they can fill me this time. Who's front running me? Yeah, it's just an aggressive area to trade, and I wanted to get that first push, but I got filled at 53. Yeah, and so it's just I really wanted to get a little bit more than that, but I moved my
Order canceled.
okay, or sorry, 51.50 is where I got filled. So I wanted to get that full 3 points. Wow, I'm getting leggy. Hopefully I didn't lose internet. Okay, so I got the 3. Yeah, 51.50 is my average. And now we'll just see what happens. Like if they want to pay me, they'll pay me. That's cool. So the setup, I didn't explain it. I just wanted to get in, but the setup is to come back into this white line. Wow, I'm super leggy, you guys. I'm sorry. Wonder what's up with that. It might just be my internet. I wonder if that's a good reason to get out of the trade. Maybe I should get out of the trade. My internet's fucking up. Okay, I'll just leave it. Let's just let it go. Okay, so the level here. Hopefully I don't lose the stream. My apologies if I just cut out, but my internet's just lagging like bad. The level was here. It was identified earlier. We traded above it and closed some bars above it, and then came back and tested it. This one was technically the primary target or the primary entry, but there was divergence. It wasn't really positioned very well, and I didn't love it. So I waited. They tried to take it, and then they reversed and signaled again. And so when this one doesn't work, the one that comes right back after it usually does work. So what it looks like is blue star going down, followed by a blue square. But the blue square by itself or the green bar by itself is also pretty good. But when they aggressively take him and then bounce it, that usually gives you an impulse move. So you can take if you followed me into this trade somehow, you're welcome to exit whenever you want. In fact, this is probably a pretty good spot to exit. But I just don't really care. Sorry about the fighter jets. So I want to get like a little under 70 would be perfect. So I'll shoot for like 67 or something. We'll see if we can't. Oh, they might not approach that on one false swoop though. In fact, they might get the Voodoo range level. Maybe I can get 74. And cut it. I'm thinking it probably either doesn't approach it or spikes over it. This may take a couple tries before they actually break through this level. I didn't realize how... Oh, I anchored to this level. Oh, that's interesting. What do I do about that? So that's not a level that was found on with the fibs. That's actually a level that was visual. I think I have to exit this. So I'm gonna take profits here. Because at first I thought I was going to a fib target, but this is actually just the 100 level. This is where I anchored the fibs. So I was thinking that this line was like one of these, but it's actually just a visual previous high. And so usually what happens is those are not just immediately broken. They come up, they try to hit it, they pull back, they break an apex lower, and then they squeeze over it. Had I realized that earlier, I would not have held it even as long as I did. But that's okay. I'm not saying it has to end. It doesn't have to reverse. but I wasn't confident that this Voodoo range level was gonna hold, considering that resistance is so close and it was created with one touch. So we'll see if that was a good call or not. But I'm okay with what was the total on ES? 5150 to, I got out in here 59 or something like that. I forget where I actually exited. Is still pretty good. Let's see if we can hit that Voodoo range level. It's a meaningful, reasonable target. I just wasn't sure if we could do it. Wait, is that? Or not Voodoo range level, this. I want to see if we can hit this. That previous high. But like I said, usually they approach it and then they reject and like get people to get stopped out, and then if they're going to rip it, then they'll rip it after that. So once I realized that, I'm just like, wait a minute. This is like the very first attempt at a level that everybody sees. So probably doesn't go straight there. It is the end of the day. It might, but we'll see. There's certainly nothing to do now. There is divergence on this high, on the MACD histogram, which looks like a line, but it's actually the histogram, and volume. See how there's more volume on this impulse move up than this one? These bars are bigger. That's a problem if they reverse here. Same thing on NQ. And divergence here too. So this going lower as price goes higher suggests not that it's going to reverse, but that it needs some rest. It doesn't have to though. I've seen divergences break all the time. It's certainly not good enough to just short it, that's for sure. But I am okay with taking profits on divergence. Like if you look before this, if you look at the previous, it's more obvious on NQ. But let's say you got let's say you got long down here, right at that they set up here too, purple bar, green bar. Remember they did the same thing, right, on both ES and NQ. That's an aggressive trade signal if you think there's a good chance that holds. And this was in a neutral zone. I wasn't looking at that. We were watching ES, but this actually was at location too. So if you took that and then you get this high and the next high is divergent like this, you can take profits here. You might get another extension, but it's not a bad place to sell, at least some. But look, they did it again. Another lower high on the indicator. And like I said, it's very normal when you have those visual targets to come back, swing underneath this, which is where I had my stop, and bounce at like 19.25. And this would be 40.45, something like that. Yeah, so that's pretty normal. Let me run to the restroom real quick and get a new water here. I'll leave these both up for you guys. I will be right back. Give me just a minute. There we go. Okay, I'll see you in a minute. Let me put it in here in case someone's got it muted. Be right back. Okay. let's see what happens. Oh, yep. So they pulled back. They did not break that. They would not have stopped out my runners had I left my my stop where it belonged at the voodoo range level. Well, if it was NQ, I took ES, so it would be under here, 47 or something like that. I had it 51, so not even like yeah, 46 is probably where I would have left my stop. 5 points or so under my entry. It's pretty consistent for ES. That hasn't gotten hit yet, and I sort of expect that that's going to get swept, but we'll see. They don't have to. We'll watch and learn. But notice this is another neutral zone, and they traded above it on NQ with a pink bar, and then they put a real bullish bar above it, tried to bounce, and now traded all the way through the neutral zone. So what they're trying to do here is hold this neutral zone, and they're going to try to come back up. But if they lose it, most likely they will head. See, they already bounced off this zone, and so the next like pivot would be down here. And the funny thing is that these higher time frame levels aligned inside of this zone. And if you look, I shouldn't say funny, but the interesting thing is, see, if you look, this middle one is like the least. Like it's not getting a lot. It's being easily traded through, but once we get above it, so here, here. So I can delete this, and the levels themselves, the white, I guess, is from this one. This should be colored differently. So the orange and the green have like replaced that zone, and they're able to trade right through it, and then retest this orange one. And here they tried. Well, the thing was created right here, so they've traded over it. So if they come back trade under green, and then come back up and reject it, is what I'm trying to say, that might offer a pretty good short. But because they've traded through that middle area in both directions relatively simply, without really having to do any pivoting inside the level, like they didn't do this in here, makes me think that level might be already auctioned. It's already considered fair price, and there's really no reason to look for trades unless you have one side fully in control and you're looking for a retest. Okay, so we got that green volume shift bar on both products, but it's pretty aggressive to trade into that divergence. It's also the end of the day. This is what's called a 3-bar, where you have purple and then a blank bar and then the trigger over here. It's not as high odds as when they come right together. Although it's funny because this one actually worked, and this one you would have had to take it. Oh no, yeah, you would have had to take it twice if you had put your stop too close to the bottom of this. It wicked you out and then triggered back in. Thankfully, I skipped this one and took this one. So I will admit, that does not happen often. See, yeah, see how it's hitting off the voodoo range level, and the pink bar, orange bar is pretty bearish. Same exact thing happened here. Pink bar, orange bar, test above, failed. So this happens often on the short side, where you get the signal, and really what you want is to get short somewhere in here. And then once that level is broken, it's bearish. And see, you got the exact same thing, pink bar, orange bar, but this time it just fell away. So you can't always wait for that retest. I mean, you can, you just won't always get it. It's set up the same exact way, basically, on NQ, except on NQ they had a volume anomaly on the way down, which will be informative because these usually get traded behind eventually. Oh, nice, we got one of these new signals. Oh, on a higher low, though. That's unusual. I wonder if that's less likely to work. But the green dot here and the inverse is a black dot is a brand new signal I'm testing out. We're going to look at it after market close and see if I can find a pattern. It's just an idea at this point. I've got some ideas of how it might work, but I'm not sure yet. So we're going to mark. I don't know if these levels in here are going to be very worthwhile. We're going to change this to purple. Usually they break it and then leave the area, come back, and it acts as support resistance. So, but it also sometimes is a good entry point, especially when it has a star on it. So the green dot and the star, or the black dot with the yellow star. Let me see if I can find one of those. Oh, I'll find it on the smaller time frame here. 16 tick. Here we go. So this one will have it. So on the smaller NQ time frame, you'll get more signals because there's just more bars being printed. But you'll also get more stops. So see, here's this one right here that we just that one was purple bar, green bar, and purple bar, green dot. The new signal triggered there too. And then there's the inverse, the black dot. See that? So those like gave you the edges on this tiny time frame. That's pretty cool. Okay, now will this red line hold as resistance? Because there's also this purple one on this tiny time frame. Let's see. I don't want to. Tell me if you guys want to see ES or NQ. It doesn't matter to me. But I'm more used to NQ, but I can do ES if people want to. But I'm kind of curious how the smaller time frame. I hadn't really thought about how consistent that signal is as an entry signal, rather than just as a way to find a level, especially on a smaller time frame. It would be really great if it sets up regularly on the smaller time frame. Wow, pink bar star down. That's a short. That's a short. That's not what I expected. They got all the way up here and rejected it. But they got a bar above it though. I don't know. This is weird. This is definitely weird. Will this hold then maybe? Is that what they're doing? Let me just, am I missing something? NQ. Oh. Yeah, we might just be chopping this area. We shall see. What will they do? Pink bar, star. This was not a higher high though. So it's not divergent, it's just a lower high. The volume anomaly here created a lift. This guy we did trade behind. Maybe this does go lower. Maybe this does go lower. Look at that. Could they not get above this? Wow, they double topped it on ES. That is pretty bearish. Oh, sorry, this is NQ. Wait, so... Oh, see, I thought that was a lower high. I think it is by like 2 ticks. So I was looking at the wrong chart. ES, 6 tick. On ES... It's clearly a lower high by like a point. Okay. Purple bar. They're trying to save that level. See it triggered here. They're trying to bounce off of it after. That's not usually how they work. Usually they break down under it and then reject off of them. Let's see. This looks very dangerous to me. I'm kind of hoping it doesn't trigger. But if it's a green bar when it closes, it's technically a buy. I just don't have the heart to take the stop up here. Yeah, that's a buy. Gross. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Doesn't mean it's not going to work. It's just not where I want to be getting long. The location is wrong. But like I said, maybe these work on the first test back. I don't think it does. Yeah, this one's gonna fail, I'm pretty sure. They haven't actually gotten under it yet. He's trying to save the voodoo range level. If this rejects, I'm pretty sure that this was just a complex pullback and we break the low. Pretty sure. Yeah, that pink bar star totally worked. Wow, stuffed. No! Oh, I forgot MOC. Market on close. So glad I didn't trade that. I was like, what? Oh, yeah. 350. That's right. Okay, so reject. Reject. Do they reject this red level? No. So they didn't get the green bar here. They got a volume anomaly. Usually they get traded underneath, but it did produce an immediate quick scalp higher after backing up into that line. Okay. Huh. So this guy's got a bunch of volume. They traded underneath them, and if they save it, it's probably going higher. As hard as that is to believe, they might just rip it out of here. They got it. They close higher. This is likely going higher. It's a little late now, but and that's what I originally kind of thought was come back in, because this move was just so impulsive that it makes a lot of sense to come back and check these areas. A lot of sense. And I was just a little bit surprised how they do it is always a surprise. But the result makes sense. The bears needed to take this level. And over here it is this one. See, that one did not stop out. You put your stop at least 1 point below and you're okay. Over here. But that's a nice little stutter step. I did not have the heart to take the stop. But the algo said buy. It's usually a good idea to follow what the algo says. Wow, so we've left behind all of these momentum shifts. Okay, so this white line here, what's that? 11,967. If we trade back below here and reject it, it's a short. And I might even get, I'd almost want puts if they do that. They rejected the voodoo range level here. Pink bar star with a volume anomaly. So do they leave this untested? Did they have divergence? Not on MACD. On the volume they did. Best case scenario for shorts, test above here, reject again. That's the best case scenario. It's really not usually a good idea to fade the end of the day like this, especially on a big gap up day, by the way. I'm not suggesting anyone actually short. I'm just saying it's interesting that it's setting up to reject out of the, look at that. It's setting up to reject out of that white zone. And the voodoo range level. They're trying. I don't know if they're going to, so they're going to trade it behind it, which makes a ton of sense. And another pink bar followed by orange bar, they might pull it off then. Or if they just reject it right here, that'll work too. But now I think they at least double topped. Usually these purple diamonds get traded on both sides. They usually go a little bit in the direction they're going to go, and they check above them, and then before you get a real rollover. Usually. It's very rare. See, here's one right here. Right? It had to go behind it before it could go any further. Right? So what you'd expect here is trade up before it can go any further. It's the same pattern. And the location's right, which is why I even pointed out. Little head and shoulders on the indicator, that's kind of cool. Look at that. Star down. And star box 2, that's good. They rejected the level. I'm not going to trade in the last 5 minutes of the day, but that was perfect. It looked like the bulls had it, and they bounced off this level. They bounced off this level, and they just couldn't clear the voodoo range with any volume. And they couldn't even get up to this important level here without them shifting lower. Ooh, only purple bars underneath the level. Bulls still have a chance to save it right here. Oh, not so much on ES, though. Looks like they're going to fail. Back to this neutral zone, so they're probably coming at least down to here. 11,939, 11,940 should get tested. This purple, I doubt this purple level will hold a second time. Very, very much so. That one will only be good again after we leave the area and come back for a short. That's how I'm pretty sure that's how those work. I think you have to trap this guy first before they actually get. I think this bounce was just kind of happenstance, but I'll look into it though. Because if it happens a lot, that's a pretty cool trade. That's an okay scalp. I mean, it's like what, 40 points? That's like $800 if you can catch that. So yeah, I want to know if that's working regularly. They're trying to save it. I don't think they're going to do it. They've developed. Oh, here, did they put volume at the highs? Yep, look at that. All the volume at the highs. This guy, like, got in right at the high, and they just stuffed him. Volume at the highs? Yep. Volume at the highs. Got under him, dead. Now, they could come back up and test it, but it should reject. Volume anomaly. Those, like I said, they usually get traded behind, right? So if there's momentum, they just get stuffed. But notice they didn't trade behind this one. So that's what they're trying to do. Bears want to test down here and see if this guy meant business. They want this tested, 11,933 or so. But there could be an air pocket there. We don't know. Wow. Oh, they did not get behind this volume anomaly. They got to put. Bears got to push through this. This little shaded area is an LVN on the profile. They can't let bulls hold this. They got 2 minutes to clear it. Bouncing here would suck for sellers. That would suck big time. They got to clear this, and they can probably get 11,930. Oh, wow. No follow through. It shouldn't have been that hard. They're running into the purple level again. It really should not have been that hard to extend this. So yeah, they're getting absorbed. Look at that. They're still trying. I mean, look how like bear. See, okay, this is a good example of what I was talking about before. See how hard the bulls have to work, and look at what they get out of their work. And that's a suggestion that like if you're trying to buy, you don't buy here, because they've already put all the aggression into this move. It's got nowhere to go. even if it wasn't the end of the day, it's not a good place to buy. Because they've put so much effort just into saving this that you're not going to get any extension. If they save it, like maybe it'll be good for the next session, but if you're just day trading on this tiny time frame, that stuff doesn't matter. All you want to know is, do I have a better chance of getting 10 points up here than losing 15 down here? And when this looks like this, chances are they're going to be out of gas real fast. And they held it. All right. All right. So, let's see what we got here. So they held the LVN at least till the close, maybe not till settle, but at least till the close. A little surprised. What's been funny about today is that like it seemed like there was either a seller in the market, a buyer in the market, or no one trading, which basically says to me very low participation. Throughout the day, the change in character of the price action was really what's the right word? It was like obvious, like exaggerated changes. And just to give you some examples, here, let me show you on ES. It's got less levels. Look. Here, I'll pull up the 8 tick so there's more space covered. So look at the price action from the open. So obviously pre-market, it was all buyers, right? So buyers, starting at 7:30. This all happened in a minute, in like seconds. See that? 10 seconds in and you're already up here, right? So all buyers. Then this was another minute, right? So they're just huge range just to like settle things down. So you have to go forward a bit. Oh, wait. Oh, I went too far. 7:30, 7:59, right in here. Okay, so another extension higher, right? But it was bigger than this one, but couldn't get over this swing high. Then the market opens. I keep going too fast, sorry. The market opens here as they drop out of that lower high, that like complex pullback. They were dropping out of it and then they opened and there was clearly a seller in the market. Someone was taking profits or whatever, right? Like there was a seller here and there was, even though the range was big, what you saw is just repeatedly every time there's an aggressive signal to the downside, so all of the yellow stars on mine will work. It was just like yellow star works, yellow star works, yellow star works, right? Because the seller was just super aggressive and active, and then orange bars would also work in that scenario. So orange bar, sell, star, sell, star, sell. Anything to the downside was basically working for like an hour, right? It was just like everything works. And you can see star down, like let's just continue with that theme, right? That star down gets you a scalp. They trade back above it. See that? And then they rejected it immediately, and the orange bar and the star and the orange bar all work. So worst case scenario for shorts here, most of them just got in and never got any heat, and it just went straight down, no problem. The worst case scenario for shorts was you traded behind your entry and then someone followed you in at the same spot as you sold earlier, right? Like if you sold it with this yellow line, that's basically where all the volume is for the bar. So that's where most of the buyers and sellers are in that bar. So if you want to think about it that way, this is where they sold this bar. They came back behind that point. Someone else came back and sold it in the same spot and immediately was successful. This guy followed through, immediately successful. This star followed through in the same exact spot. See that? It worked. So that level becomes important for sellers to hold, right? So here, I'll change this to blue. Okay, so that's where they have to hold, and as long as they do, we'll continue to have success to the short side, to the short side, to the short side, right? So now what happens? Lunchtime. No, I'm sorry. This is an hour into the market. Central. They can't reach it. You get an aggressive signal. Short. They come back up to the level. They reject it. Short. Come back up to the level. Reject it. Short. Right? Now, you didn't get any signs of aggression on these. They were just retraces into the level that rejected. On NQ, it may have, and on the 6 tick, it may have. Let me check. Yeah, on the 6 tick, you got diamonds. See that? You got diamonds out of there. Diamond down, star down, orange bar. Any of those work, right? Diamond down, because the location's right. So if the location's good, most of the signals are going to work, and sometimes you don't even need a signal for it to work. But we identified, again, that area on ES, buyers needed to get over him, right? Because they did for a moment, and then immediately rejected it. So that creates a future potential pivot, which they couldn't get over here. So just the location alone was enough to reject it. Oops, I opened the wrong one. 8 tick, we were doing. It's a little easier with less bars. Okay, so they reject it there, right? Look, stars are still working. Stars down, right? So all through here, it was just sellers, right? It's not that buys didn't work. They did, right? You could take green bars and buy them, and you could take some stars, but most of the green bars worked. But notice how some of the stars up just got immediately smushed. Like this one worked, but like this green bar didn't. This one didn't. This one worked. This one kind of worked. This one worked. This one worked. They started to both sides started to work once you got balance, which is the way it's supposed to be. But if you tried to take buy signals on the way down, look at how many times you get crushed. You get crushed here, here on the diamond if you were really aggressive. Here you probably got your 3 points. Here you didn't. Here you did. Here you did. And here you didn't. Right? So what that tells me is that in the morning there was an active seller with like a big institution was trying to get rid of contracts, and they were likely playing with the market here. I've talked about this on other streams, but if you are familiar, like some people call it manipulation. I don't think of it like that. I just think it's the way to think about it is because it's totally legal. All they're doing is they've got shorts or they've got orders to sell, right? And they want to sell it no lower than, let's say, this, okay? And that's what their client wants. He says, I want to get short, and I don't want to short anything lower than 40.90, right? So what they do is when they get below that level and they don't see anyone following them, see that? There's like nobody following. They stop selling, or sometimes they'll even buy the market and see what happens if they can get price back up above the level where they were last selling, which was, again, here, right? Once they get price above there, if anybody sells, they hammer it. And so what you end up getting is this nice, what we call an S-curve. So, right? It's kind of like a Z, but it's not straight anymore. You start pulling back, and you pull back beyond a swing high. So it's a trap back in to the short side for anybody in the room. The way to see them is to, if you have the algo, is to find these little apexes. For me, it's a sideways triangle, like a little purple flag. On Simon's, it's the blue diamond. But what you do is you extend that level, and then if you can get an aggressive trader to close below that after testing above it with only 1 bar's range like this, if it's bearish, that'll be a really good spot to sell. So, and then you can mark that level, and later on it becomes resistance, right? So anyway, only seller in the market, only seller in the market. Same thing, right? Orange bar. Now this one, here's another one. See, orange bar gets broken, but they shift lower. So see how he got lost, right? So this white level, I'll mark it like this. This guy, it's this. Where the VPOC was, it's technically a zone. The white level is just like a line in the area. You know, how specific you need to be is up to you. But if I extend this, what you'll see is the seller will continue as long as he thinks price is going lower, he's going to keep selling, right? But eventually, either his order runs out or he finds no one to follow him, and so he's got to turn off the selling, and he might even try to buy it up back to the point where he's willing to sell big again. And so what you'll see is in that time period, all of a sudden, selling signals will stop working. See, this one worked, orange bar, selling is still working, all of a sudden you get an orange bar way at the low that gets trapped, right? And then star, and it's not really doing anything. See how it's like not working? And then star works, right? But look what happens at the low. At the low, they get aggressive. The buyers get aggressive down here. And the sellers try to push it lower, and they can't. They get all these diamonds down here trying to trap these buyers, and there's no sellers following them through. They try again to aggressively short or sell, and that gets ripped through. See that? Rip. All of a sudden, buys start to work. Any aggressive signs to the upside are working. Now, the downside worked here, but not here. Here, right? But the next one I don't think will work. Oh, that one worked. This one didn't. So they're down to like maybe 50%, right? Maybe less. That's balance. It's that big seller is on pause, or maybe he's buying to see if he can get a better price. Well, what happens when we come back up to the place where he was last actively selling? He turns it back on again with a diamond. Heavy seller. Volume anomaly. Something unusual in volume. Probably big volume. Gets put in there on the short side. And they just fall away. Because he's still got orders to fill. Right? So the level is available if you know where the aggressive seller is. You can see it on the footprint. You just need some skill. Right? Like, watch. See I don't know if it's going to go to the here. Let me pull it all the way over. 1101. Yes, not the profile. I want delta profile. Is that what it's called? Oh, delta footprint. Okay, 1101. So look, if you look at this, and you know how to read a footprint, you'll see the aggression. You know, so it's not like you can't trade it. The problem is, so you'd have to identify here. Will you see the bar? You don't. So you'd have to identify that the seller was getting active, right? And that if they reject that area in the future, that it's sellable. So you may see it here, right? They trapped buyers and they got below them. It's just a lot easier to see here. And now what's interesting is later on, they returned to that level and the sellers responded again. So here it's a different signal, but at 1343 on the footprint, it's still there. See that? Like, but how do you know the difference between this and this and this, right? Like, I need to analyze other things on other charts all at once. Whereas the algo can just say, hey, they did it. Right? And I'm like, oh, that's at a location I want. I should probably short that. Right? So if you have those that awareness of whether or not sellers or buyers are being active and whether or not there's like a balance or not, you can find good levels. So there's the exit. Now look what happens down here is where I started the stream, I believe. And what we end up getting is the short, and then the buyer doesn't work, the seller works. Sellers come in at the low, and I know I was streaming at this point because I said if we can trap those guys, it can reverse. They gave a buy signal. This one failed. This one worked. And look, this seller failed, which makes this buy pretty good. All right, so that little pattern here, star followed by a diamond with a star, is pretty good as long as you've got the direction and the location right. They trap another seller. They come up, they wiggle around in this important area, which was important from a long time ago. They kind of debate back and forth, negotiate. They come back up. They balance until they hit this level. And then what happens? Sellers come back. Right? Attack the level again. He's not done, is what that tells me. That seller, whoever was active there before, he's still trying to get rid of his contracts. The difference, what I was surprised about on the end of the day was the price action changed down here, particularly on NQ, you could see it, where all of a sudden they were getting this, they looked like they were just going to rip through this low, and they just like stalled, right? Which is usually absorption. So what's happening is on the exact opposite side of the market, there's the same push and pull going on. So there's someone buying after they sell the lows. Here, if we go back to the low of the day, right, way back here. Now think about this from the exact opposite. I think that's the low of the day. Yeah. So think about this exactly the opposite way. We're going to look for where did buyers try to get continuation and failed for a moment, then regained their level, right? So where did they lose their composure, then regain it? So here's the low. Here, I'll do it with, whoops, not that. This. So here's the low, I believe, or at least of the afternoon. Not of the day. Oh yeah, no, it is the day. So that's the low. And then, so now we're looking for buyers getting stopped out, right? An aggressive buyer where they traded below him. So what we can do is we can just go bar by bar whenever we have a signal and say, did they trade below it? So did they trade below that? No. Did they trade below? Okay, there's no stars, right? No up stars, no green bars until here. White star. Did they trade below it? No, not right away. Okay. Then come up here. I've already got one there because it gets traded below. So this one, this green one, gets tested and then gets traded below. See that? Traded below. Okay, that's what makes this level important. It's not, I moved it somehow. That level gets like activated once you've given it up, and then if they regain it, right there. Now it's bullish as long as they hold that level, but they might need to leave the area and then come back to bounce on it later. If they give it up, they may reject off of it from below as well. So look what happens. See how they save it? Save it. Try to save it. Save it. The only bars that are bearish, that are under, that put the yellow line under the white line, are purple. Any other time the yellow line got under the white line, it's a bullish, the bar closes bullish. See how the bearish bars that got closes below the white line, all their volume was in the wick, right? That yellow line's where all the volume is. That's a bounce off the level, right? Couldn't reach the level of volume, got volume below the level, they close bullish, and then buyers suddenly start pulling their order from the order book, bringing price down, what people call manipulation, right? They make sure that they come back and fill this guy who was sitting with their order down there by pulling their like fake orders. And then as soon as they see someone aggressively attack, what do? They buy, right? Once you get that, let me mark this level. Now this level here. We got, again, we developed it here as a bounce point that got taken and then retaken. Now the retests it acts as support, not in like a price way, but for volume. They can't develop volume below it with any aggression. Anytime volume gets below it, it's just because buyers are not buying. There's no sellers, there's no active, aggressive sellers getting involved here. Here, I'll show you on the footprint. Make this as educational as possible. So see how there's just nothing going on down here? Like there's just no aggression. Every time they come down in there, it rejects it. This is absorption. Look at the low. See that? If you know how to read a footprint, you'll see it. It's they're rejecting that level. And then they come down to it. You get a bunch of volume down there. That's the absorption, right? There's no aggression down there. And they leave it. The first time they try to fight is up here. Okay? That's the first, and here I'll show you where that is on the algo. So on the algo, that right there, that bar, that's the first time sellers actually interacted here since this ripped down. So they ripped all the way under this important level. No seller followed them in. Then they tried to come back up. Where did they get involved? Back at resistance. Why? Because that's where sellers were having a little bit of success before. What happens when that purple bar gets beat? Purple bar, star, higher. See how that works? So that pattern, as long as it's bullish, that purple bar followed by a star is going to give you an extension most of the time. You just have to identify that either traps or shorts are trapped underneath, or that buyers are actively filling orders, like aggressively. Now, but look at this level. This is what's neat about this, is now they try to fight it here. They get under it. See that? With aggression. What happens? The area becomes resistance. Sellers in the area now have success until they rip through it. Now, look who got trapped at the lows. Oh, this might have been where I started the stream. I think this was the guy. It just looks the same. Sellers are trapped at the lows down here. See that? Stars at the lows. So they saw this level get taken. What did they do? They sold aggressively into this level, right? Which I identified earlier in the same way. And then they bounced. And once they got back over this guy, it was done. You can see that any attempts to get back in here were bought. This is where I said it's kind of an aggressive buy, but the location was right. This is the one I bought, right? This one looks better in retrospect, but by here, I felt confident that we had cleared this area and they were still being aggressive. And so that was the trade we took in the stream. Okay, so I'm like, remember, this is off of one level. They come back. I wanted them to get back into here, and they couldn't. They bounced it, right? So I missed that. Just didn't set up how I wanted it to. They put all the volume at the high, right back at this old level that we identified. Aggressive sellers start to get payoff, right? Where is price going? Probably back here, right back into this zone. It's just the same thing all the time. Like, that's the funny thing, is like, once you start to know what to look for, once you have at least if you're a visual person like me, once you know this is what I'm looking for, it all just starts to look the same. It's like, it's just a matter of filtering out what information you need to pay attention to and when. Because there's so much information that it's like overloading if you try to analyze every single bar. Like, okay, what does that mean again? That's an aggressive buyer with absorption of selling at an apex. Like, if you have to think through it every single time, you're going to get totally overwhelmed and you'll not trade well. Whereas instead, if you're just like, I need this sign to know it's bullish, then I need this pattern to get long. If that's all it is, and then I need this pattern or location or whatever to know where to look for that trigger. And so, and like just to fill in the blanks there, if you were long only, and you're like, and the first thing would would be like, okay, let's figure out if it's bullish, right? When did it get bullish? When you back off, it was bullish obviously at the pre-market, but if you wanted to be really prudent and you didn't want to take a trade unless you had a chance to get like a decent follow through, what you would actually do is and you were long only, right? You'd skip all of this when sellers were doing all the work and buyers weren't getting much done, because your win rate's going to be like 50-50 to the long side there. So you just do nothing. And then once you start to see it go sideways, right? So you wouldn't really know until like right here, where you start making lows that are higher than the previous lows and they don't come back and break this. Now you could go back and say, hey, change in character. Let's look to the left and see when the last sellers got broken, right? Which seller was the unlucky one who got stopped out before his trade worked? This one. Okay, well, to know whether or not he's still interested in that level and still filling orders, we're going to need to get back to that level and see what happens, right? So your choices are aggressively buy targeting that level, right? And so your buys need to come from far away from that level. And again, you wouldn't know that probably until, let's say, here. So that's when you would probably start to say, okay, I'll open up some of my buy setups. And so when you get this trap back in, where it trades underneath an apex and then comes right back again within one bar, that would be your first trade of the day at like 9:55, right? So you would skip an hour and 10 minutes of the day, and but then your first trade would be all the way down at 40.75, and you'd be in pretty good shape, right? So now if you didn't catch that one, well, now you have to decide, like, again, where is my target? And if I said my primary target's way up here, I don't want to be buying this trap, because best case scenario, I get that, right? And it's just, and then my risk is all the way down here. And so it's like, why, from my point of view, it's probably bearish. Why even take the risk if you're not at support, right? But would I take that trap? Yep. Right. This looks fine. You're back far away now from the level that you want to get to. And so you could buy this one too. Take profits at 3 points, take profits at 5 points, take profits at 10 points, whatever you want to do. But just pay yourself as you get back to the level. And if you reject it, now you're out again. Would I take this trap? Yep. Back at the location I want, right? Now I can get long again. And so you just play that area, you campaign that 40.75 area, and you continually sell 40.90, let's say. Because there's a voodoo range level right below that level we wanted. Otherwise, you just grab it and you put your stop like a little deeper, and you just wait for them to fill you at 40.93 or whatever. But that's a little bit risky. You'll either get it or you won't. But okay, so let's say you did that, right? Notice the algo does not set up here. There's no aggressive buyer, so you don't take a stop there at all. You just don't get long again because it never set up again. Now the seller's back, so you stop buying. How long do you stop buying? Until a seller loses. So this guy gets trapped. This guy gets trapped. This guy gets trapped, right? All of these sellers got momentarily trapped. The highest one to do that was him. Aggressive seller got stopped out before his trade worked. This level needs to be taken back if I want to be bullish. And in the meantime, this will be my bullish target. So can I take, let's see, no setup there. If this gets broken and trapped back in, I could buy it. No trap. That's too far. It's got to be 1 bar's length. So that one's just no trade. No trade setup. No trade setup. And sometimes it just won't set up. So if that one gets broken and then trap back in, I can take it. Because my target's so far away. No trade setup. There. Did it trap? It's got to be back into here. Nope, no trap. Didn't make it. It's got to be 1 bar. Not good enough. There. Whoops. The green one is a head and shoulders entry. Daniel actually called this out in the room. See that? It got back into the range of this apex in 1 bar after a bounce. So we called this a head and shoulders. It's not technically a head and shoulders, but it's like left apex and then a head and then right apex. And this one is trapping back into this range. So you get under it, you come back over it, and then you get under it, and immediately in 1 bar, close back inside here. That's a good buy. Where's your target? Way back up here. And you could just keep going. Now, since you're still in this area, now this one does stop, but look, this is another trap. You would have gotten paid, right? But your runners stop out, like Simon's runners stopped out. But look, this is another trade. That's another one. Traps underneath this, closes back in, and that one, your runners pay you a lot more, right? And then if you wanted to wait even further, this one triggered too. It went under this by a point or two, came back in. That one was valid. This one, under the apex, came back in by a point or so. And that's it there. Let's see, it went lower, right? Oh, this one, valid, trap. I believe they took that in the room too. That's an entry, right? So there's all sorts of opportunities. You just have to be patient until you're until you're trading with the same direction as the rest of the market. You don't need to fade the trend. You can wait until the trend pauses, and then target back to where you expect the trend to continue. So yeah, this one's an entry. Oh my God. So technically, you could have taken a stop here if you tried to trap off of this, right? But you have to identify that you're so close to resistance here that you're not getting really very good risk reward. You want a move down to trap off of this one if you're going to go that far away from the if you're going to have that much space in between where you are trapping back into and where you're getting in. It needs to be like an uptrend. This one you could technically call this a head and shoulders, but it's not great. This one too. I probably wouldn't have taken it. And then you miss this. Notice there's no trap here. It goes 1 bar too low. So, but you could get and it doesn't work. That's why you don't take the trades when the algo doesn't tell you to. And there's a purple bar, green bar here. Very aggressive to do it at the lows. No head and shoulders off of this low. No trap there. See, this one did not get underneath. And now you're approaching resistance. So now it's too high to buy unless you take that level. So I would not, for instance, take this because your best case scenario, if everything works, is to get back up to white. So just for me, that's not enough. Like, did you get 3 points on that trap? Maybe. You got in at 56 and your MFE was 59. 3 points. Simon takes his profits at 3 points. So if you're going to trade like that and you're going to be disciplined about it, it's all good. People in the room do it every day. It totally works. But the problem is you need to then know, when do I hold runners? And like I said, if you've got enough experience, like my coach does, you can take those trades and just take all the 3 points and know you're fighting the momentum, and you don't need to try to hold for 10 or 20. I have a harder time doing that, so I just only take the trades where I can hold the runners as best I can. Every once in a while, I'll take the scalps that I don't hold runners, but it's stressful. Okay, so anyway, that's all I really wanted to show you with that. As far as the day, it's oh well, here I can show you the exact opposite on the short side. So here, so if we take the same exact ES, the same ES chart, and we look at this from the short side, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but let's try I want to show you the difference between I want to show you why we do long only and not short only. Some of us trade both directions, but if you're new to the room, Simon's going to recommend long only at first. I'll show you why. You will miss some trades, but you'll also miss some really frustrating stops because the short side is just harder, right? On a day like today, when all the momentum is going to the downside, you can make a shit ton of money shorting. And I did okay trading both directions. Like I said, I had a pretty decent day. I traded these one at a time. I didn't use the trade copier and did pretty well. You know, I mean, 1786 by the end of the day, I'm happy with that. But that doesn't happen all the time for someone who trades both directions. Here, you had the setups, like the stars at the apexes, that just kept working without getting stopped out. Star, right? You could just trade continuation, and you'd very rarely get stopped. That's not usually how it works. But notice, even if you just traded that same trap trade, they show up on the short side and they work as long as you've got the direction right? Like you don't need to learn any more setups. You can just do the same thing on the other side, but you need to know when to stop. When do you stop? You stop when they start stopping out and when they start getting trapped. So if the shorts get in and start getting trapped, you don't want to be getting short. You want to switch, right? Or don't do anything if you're short only for some reason. But notice here, they just don't set up with a trap very often. They just make lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. But if you're aggressive and you know it's short, you can take pink bar, star, pink bar, orange bar, right? Like triangle up, star. Those are all patterns that work as long as you're going in the right direction. Those little 2-bar combos work really well to the short side as long as it's actually bearish. So now what are we looking for? We're looking for buyers that initially get stopped out and then have success. That's the sign that we might be balancing. So here it is. The buyer buys, he gets stopped out, and that buyer has success, right? So if you're looking at this from the other perspective, your level to watch is this one. This guy here is the one, if we continue higher, who's going to feel left out and was the last to capitulate. So we'll make it like purple. Okay. So now we don't, okay. The way to think about this, our short target should be this. So we don't want to take shorts that set up right here because they're just going to get absorbed more often than not. When they stop getting absorbed there, we can go back into short only mode as if you think it's bearish. But look what happens every time we get the short signals, the aggressive signals, they get stuffed there. See that? Stuffed. Purple bar star, purple bar green bar, the aggressive bullish trade works. Now they run into resistance that we found earlier, so that's why you get these little bumps and move these little what's it called? Pivots. Well, they got stuffed once, and then sellers came right back in, right? So now, guess what? You're back to sell only mode, right? And so, am I right about that? Hold on. Oh, this is the first time they're getting under it. So no, I'm wrong. This is the first time where you can start, I'm wrong. Because look, when we first got under it, it went higher. It didn't get under it. So now that we've got under it, going over it again is where you'd start targeting it. But so you don't, it'd be very, very, very aggressive to take these. What you want is still targeting this from above. Let's see. Unless it does reject here. It'd have to reject right there. And it kind of does. It went back up to this one. So let's see. Do the star down and orange bar down start working down here? I kind of doubt it. No. See that? They get stopped out. They get stopped out. See that? So you're going to have a hard time all of a sudden trying to trade short because of this guy from back here. This guy who capitulated is like trying to basically get back to break even, and he's going to support that area. And so like this one doesn't really work for much. See that? This orange bar doesn't really work for much. There's just no reason to be aggressive here. And even the traps, I bet, will not work very well. Watch. Apex trap, star, stopped out. This one works. Second, so 50-50. Apex trap, stopped, works. 50-50, right? Apex. I don't know if this one, if it did, it stopped, right? So now it's like 40%, 30%. And that's very rare on the long side, but on the short side, it happens a lot. If you can identify when it happens, if you know when this little choppy area is coming, you can avoid it. But if you don't understand how to find that level, or if you get confused by it, and I still sometimes do, you can have a lot of trouble. So now look, they got back over it, right? And they couldn't hold it. This seller and this seller have success. Now you can be a seller again. Someone from the top, it's not this first, see, I was confused because we didn't get up there. So we had this, we never got underneath it. They saved the level. So this one doesn't really, you could still short this and it's okay. You're just going to get a lot of this pivoting. It's once you put in the level and you got under it, you don't want to be shorting until you reject it. And see, we got over it here, so we wait. Reject, got over it, right? And now you can short, wait, you have to reject it now. So you're not shorting yet, you have to reject it now. Does not reject. See, it goes right through it. It rejected this one. We need it to reject this with aggression. Yeah, it just falls away. I was actually looking for this trade. I wanted it to come back up here and reject, and it didn't. It started putting in aggressive sellers there and just fell away. So it just doesn't set up for me. But now that you see that working, now you can be like, okay, I'll go back to shorting again. But you need the setup, right? You can't just randomly short. So you could technically short this star, and you could technically short this star. That's really aggressive. Look how deep that is, right? There's no retrace first. So that one gets stopped out. And then this one gets stopped out, but this one works, right? So a little bit of 50-50 on the short side again. And then short on the diamond. This one does not work. It's not positioned very well. It's not on the right side of the channel. No signal there. No, that trap worked, right? The star is not in a very good position, but it does eventually result in a rollover. A little late. The orange bar is good. This orange bar gets stopped. And then here's our guy that got left behind, right? So again, if you want to know when to stop shorting, mark his range. We'll just do the exact same thing. We'll see what happens. Mark his range. He's going to get stopped out and left behind is what has to happen. Now, shorts down here will not work very well. See that? That sucks, shorting this and this. That sucks, right? Instead, your best case scenario is wait for a big rip and try to target back into it and then prepare for it to act as support. your only other choice is wait till you get under it, and then they reject it. See, they just keep saving it. See that? So this is where you're like, hey, I don't think it's short anymore. And Simon in the room was like, don't short. And this was a trap back in, and I caught this, and a couple other people in the room caught this one. It was not that hard. Like, you didn't need to know anything except for who's trapped, where they trapped, and what does my setup look like, right? So now, look, once you get all the way up here, right? Now if it starts to get bearish, we can start targeting that zone. So like shorting these is not that bad because we're so far away from it. But it can come back and get you before it gets there. It doesn't always work. See that? It tries. You could definitely get 3 points on all these. And they just can't get any momentum. Buyers take over and they're toast. Right? Back up to the area where the flip side, right? Where we had it before. This is the same exact spot from here, right? We did the same exact thing on the opposite side earlier. Same process. They reject out of it. Where's it going? Right back to this level. Huh. Cool, right? And so that's where the aggressive signal was, that I was like, hey, if you want to be aggressive long, if you're, if you haven't hit your target, this was the first opportunity to really get aggressively long. How do we know that? Because long ago we had that set up, and then they confirmed this zone too, became a neutral area that was likely to become a pivot. So see how they pivoted off of it. That will continue until they break under it. Okay, so, but the problem is there's another one up here, right? This is that other one. And they've rejected out of it once, twice, right? Like, it could just go back and forth between 40.35 and 40.65. Back and forth and back and forth. And you could buy this and sell this, and that's fine, right? Whatever you want to do is totally cool. But I just want to show you how once you have that structure to the market. Now look here. Now that we have all those levels, look what happens when I hide the studies. How can I? Okay. If I hide the studies and just look at the structure and the levels that were found with the studies, right? You can use the studies to find the levels, but once you've got them, here's the first one we found together, right? Because I didn't have a lot of levels on ES. So there were more up here. We just didn't find them. We started looking here. Now let's say only take trades if A, you're at the level or rejecting from a level that's marked off, and B, you know the direction that you want to trade, right? So here, do we take trades in here? Not really, because you don't have a lot of expectancy, right? If this would have, like I said, if this would have come back and hit it, that's a good short. It just didn't set up until here. That one's okay. That one's okay, right? That one's okay. Those are all fine. That one's okay. That one's okay. Okay, we developed the thing here, so this is not a buy. We get under it. We try to get over it. They try to bounce. We don't really want to take that, right? And now they've gotten under it. Now once we've got, because we think it's still bearish here. That's why we wouldn't take this long. Is we know that it's set. We know that it's going to set up here only once you retake it. So only here can we even put this level on our chart, because they need to lose it, regain it, and then lose it and regain it again. Basically, usually this is how it looks. Sometimes it's more like this one, where it's test under it, test over it, then lose it, and lose it again, right? This is in reverse, but this one just happened to get under it for a little bit longer before it did the little pivot. But it's really once it gets back over it again, that it's like, okay, this is now my short target, and anybody under here who capitulated and sold is going to be FOMOing in on any retest. So these start to be viable, and any other test of it, this is still a sell, and we just don't even participate in this. You don't get chopped up. You wait until you get back to the level and get the sign of aggression. And then you can take profits along the way at other levels, right? But your real reversal is once they get back in here and reject it. Right? So hopefully that makes sense. Does anyone have any questions about like how I did that? I might have done it kind of fast, but I just want to show you how some of these areas can be figured out with structure and how it can help you kind of decide whether or not you want to be a buyer or a seller at any certain point in time or price. And it's so important. Yeah. So if there's no question about this, I'm going to move on to the new signal, and we're going to dig into that a little bit. But if there's questions, you can put them in the chat, and I will answer them best I can. So put all that back. And like I said, you'd need the signs of aggression to know when to execute the trade and to be sure that you're putting the levels in the right place. But the actual structure, the process is based on structure of the market. It's not some like voodoo, right? It's just market structure and where people capitulated, where they're likely to have had their stops and got capitulated. So, okay, no questions, cool. So let's take a look at this, these new signals. Let me start on the higher time frame. Let's start on the big time frame. Okay, and let's take a look here at these extension lines, the purple and the pink. There might not be very many on this big time frame. What we're looking for, the new signal, is the black dot with the purple extension for the short, for the sell. And then on the other side is a green dot. I'm going to color this differently. Hold on. We're going to color this one like something else. Extension line. Okay, that should be fine. So now we can tell the difference. I don't know if it matters. And what I want to know is, number one, on a day that's not today, that's right, the end of the rollover, you had all this crazy volume. That's what all the green is. I can actually turn that off. But I want to know if the purple and pink bars, oh, that's right, we're brand new. I forgot it's a brand new, this might not work on the higher time frame. It's a brand new contract. So when it's looking for unusual volume, it's going to fire over and over again. I'd have to turn that off, and it might mess with this signal too. But what I want to know is when the signal first comes, is there any value to identifying it immediately? Like, is this sometimes a good place to buy? But then also later on, what happens at that level following a test or a break and a retrace? So like this, obviously doesn't hold on the first test, and that's what I've usually been finding. But I want to know if they reject it or if they break it and bounce off of it, does it become a good level to trade at? So it orbits this one. That hasn't really done anything. Let me look at a smaller time frame so I won't get so many volume anomalies, because that's kind of annoying, hard to see. Let's look at a tiny little time frame. And let's hide the chart drawings from other charts. There we go. Okay, now I'll just see whatever we draw now. So let's back up a bit. I really am not interested in seeing what it's doing minutes after CPI. That's like the least interesting. What I'd love is a day that was like balanced and sort of normal. But like I said, because the contract is so new, I'm not
Here's
sure.
something I found on docplayer.org.
What?
You have the right to revoke the contract within 14 days without giving reasons.
Okay. Oh, because I said something about a contract. Oh boy, what did I do? I unsqueezed it too far. Okay, so last Friday, like I said, I don't know if we're even going to get the signal. because it's March, not December. I'm looking, it'll have an extension line, so it should be really obvious. Yeah, so we don't even see it till March because there's just no volume. Okay, so the first we can really see it is Monday, yesterday. Let's see if we can find it here. I don't have very much data, that means, but I can guess. I guess I could probably go pull it up on a different continuous contract. That should work, actually. If I go get a previous, I should be able to fix this. Let's just see how it worked on Monday and Tuesday, though. Okay. Oh, that's not this. That's a level I put in last night. Okay. Okay. Wow, they don't come up very often. They will have dots. Okay, this is CPI. I am looking at the right one, right? 16, and it shouldn't hide it. Did we have just so many dots that, or so many, we might have just had so many, here's where they start showing up. I wonder if we've had so many bars that I didn't load enough on that. That could be. All right, so I don't care about, here they come. Here they are. I don't think it's going to matter in this first couple seconds of CPI. If I had to guess, I'd say that this would not be normal price action. Like, look at that. That all happened in like 5/10 of a second. So I'm guessing that these levels are probably not worth putting on the chart. But once it gets a little further, I want to know, first of all, whether or not these are often pivots. And it looks like they often are. But also if the levels later on are important. Okay, 2 minutes in. So see how it broke underneath it? I want to know, like, if I come back and bounce off of it, is it good? Right there, opposite direction. Okay, let me also, I guess this is now just 2 minutes in. It's not very long. I'm hoping I get more. Okay, so here's one all by itself. So it's purple, and then, oh, this one never got tested, so we'll put that one on the chart too. Okay. So there are some signals in here that got immediately beat. So it's not like you can just sell every black dot and buy every green dot. That one works, actually. With the stop above the high, that one created a nice roll down. Interesting. So what's the difference between this and this? This one had a pink bar before it. It had a volume anomaly. This one had a volume anomaly going a couple before. Oh, it's got a star on it. That, I thought that was kind of a good thing. Interesting. It's during an impulse move. You're fighting the trend. That's probably the problem. No divergence. Here, oh, no, just a lower high. Triangle up, pink bar, black dot, lower. Okay, we'll see if that continues to happen. Now, but like I said, what I'm really thinking is that these levels might become important, like this. See, this black dot's right at that level, but it still didn't immediately reject. This one did. So right now it seems to be like 50-50 to take it immediately, but it's at this other level, which is cool. Here's a green one. That one immediately works. I'm going to put one here. And let's put one here on the one that worked as well. This one also worked. So let's see if those levels are the same. Now this one worked. There's no triangle up on the bar before. It's not pink, but there's divergence. Okay. This one didn't work, and it did have a pink bar. No divergence. This one worked. Pink bar before it. This one worked, and there was divergence on MACD. Okay. Oh, see, so this first test back in, bounce. First test back in, reject. Put another one. That's interesting. So here's another one. I don't know how long they're good or what, but this level clearly was meaningful until they broke it. But what I've seen is they actually come back up and they reject it, and then that's a big roll down. It's only when it's moving. See here, this up to this level and rejects. And it was an old level. That was the first test back. This is leave the area, break through, come back, and bounce. Look at that. Green bar, right at the level, big bounce. Okay. Another, oh, but this one doesn't work. It goes the opposite direction. So it breaks over it, breaks under it, wiggles around and rips through it, rips right through this one, tries to come back, fails. Here's another one. This one gave you a scalp. Pink bar with the volume anomaly. Get over it. Oh, that's another one. To the long side. This one worked immediately. Oh, they're all over the place up here. I don't know what that means. Let's see if those levels are good later. So see, the first time back, they obviously can't just be blindly bought. There's more here. So that's the problem with this tiny time frame, is that there's going to be a bunch of these. And I'm not sure which ones are best yet. But let's just see. Does that zone become important? Here, I'll just move these around so they're the most recent. This one definitely did hold. So it was during an impulse move. We broke above it, can't get back under it, and they bounce with another dot. We'll add one more. Let's see if any of these levels become important later on. Yeah! Look at that. The green one, we get over it, we get under it, we get over it, we back in, test it, back in, test it, bounce. Back in, test it, bounce. Same thing on this one. Green dot. Okay, so now let's scoot it up. This one and this one. Obviously, in a higher time frame, you wouldn't get as many lines. I just have such little data to look at that I'd rather see the smaller time frame and see if I can find the pattern right away. So note, you don't blindly buy the level, obviously. You do get a bounce off here that doesn't give you much. Now it looks like it's getting bearish. There's so many levels here, I can't even tell which ones are hitting. Okay, we're out of the area and it rejects back out of it. Under, over, under, reject. Is that going to work? Yep. Wow. Okay, so how do you deal with this? What do you do about this? This was the first one. They couldn't bounce it. I'm guessing that's the least useful. Then this one's in the middle of the range. That's probably less useful as well. This one was right at an apex. I bet you out of all of them, this one's probably the most useful. This one was right at an apex. Let's try that. Was this other one right at an apex? Okay, let's try that. Bounce, 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 bounce. This one's at an apex, we'll keep it. Under, so reject, 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 reject. That's pretty cool. Gets over, under, rejects, rejects, rejects. Wow. Can't get under it with an orthodox close, breaks above. This one's at an apex, we'll put one here. I don't think I missed any. Trying to catch all of them. Again, they are giving you little scalps right away. Take note of that. We're getting a big cluster in here again. Okay, leave the area. Do we just never come back? Oh, interesting. Ripped right through it. Didn't even try to take on any of those. This one's not in an apex. And look at how we just bounce back and forth between these. This too. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All the way up to this one and reject. Look at that, it's still good. Okay, this one's not an apex. I'm guessing it's not useful, but this one doesn't make it back to here. Oh, you know what? I might have to do the entire range. Did it make it back to the POC? It made it back to the high. Okay. So I may need to move where the actual line is. Yeah, look at that. Man, okay, so how long are they good? Like this rejected. Let me just back up here. Let me try to move these to the I'm gonna start over one more time. We're gonna do this in a more sensible way. Now that there's clearly something here. Okay, so I'm gonna do it at the top, at the high. This one had one at the low. I'll just do it like this for the time being. That one immediately acts as support, races higher. Couldn't get over to that one. This is going to go to the high. This one is basically the exact same spot. It's putting a new line there, but that's because it's printing it based on the bar color, on the color bar signal, not on the low. But this low is exactly in the same spot. So it's like a double bottom. This high is exactly in the same spot. What? Okay, and now there's another one up here. So do I move it? Here, let me make this one like a different color. I want to know if once they print on it, can I like remove old ones? And see, this one too came later. Do they stop using, they overshot it. See, they overshoot. They overshot the other one too. Here, this one's not an apex. Let me just, I'll move it anyway. Okay. The other ones still haven't really been used. This one got used again. Okay, they break over it and they start using it as support. Okay, but now they're building new ones. I'm not completely sure which level to take, but I'm going to take like the outside ones and start there. And if I miss it by just a few points, I'll know why. So let's just move them to the outside. Oh, and then here, this one clearly worked. So dot on the downside, dot on the big side, or maybe just star on the upside actually. Might be enough. So that basically bookends this whole little chop zone. Okay, we're gonna move that up here. I don't know if that gets hit or not. Because I think before it like tagged it. Okay, so this one tries to form off of here, rejects off the white one, and then they print a new one here. I bet you anything I'm supposed to move this if I had to guess. Let's see if that helps. This is still the old one. They're trying to use it. It's not real reliable though, but look at that. Okay, so now what do I do about this? It moved down. Nothing? I don't know whether or not I should be keeping this one or not. Let's color it like green. Because I'm not sure about that. And then here, like, what do I do about this? Do I maybe get rid of this one? Because there's an old one nearby. I'd like to know if I can when I can get rid of them. Obviously, eventually, you can't have them all. Okay, so they totally overshoot the red. Yeah, see, I don't really think the white one's working that much anymore. You've got to bounce here with another dot. So it would have moved. And then you got one right next to it. Let's see what happens. They try to bounce off that one. That's unfortunate. You can't just buy... Well, there's no star there, though. Okay, this has one. And so if I go here, there's just not a lot of use in here. Let's do that and this. Do we come back in here? Yeah. But see, this old one doesn't really, it's almost deceptive. Once they get too old, they stop working like this. It lines up, but it doesn't work. This one works. The green one works here. Oh, and here. So is it the one on the edges, maybe? Yeah, so you can't take all of them. It's not like every test is a tradable signal. And there's just too many of them. But I can see how the market's going from one to the next for sure. Okay, let me just try moving these a little bit. Let's do this. Let's just spread them out and see if I can hit recent ones. See this, that's not really. Okay, so let's do this. Oops.
Playing Become from Amazon Music. Just so you know, while you're listening, you can ask me to fast forward or rewind by any amount of time, like 5 minutes.
Alexa,
Now for
stop.
your podcast.
I don't know why she thinks I'm talking to her. Okay, so this one's way out here. I guess I'll make another one. Did I catch this? Way up here. Yeah, see stars off of them, and it might only be good enough for one. This is the setup that I saw during the day. Was stuff like this, where we leave the area, we break it, we come back, and we reject with a sign of aggression. That's the scalp I was noticing today. Does that same level set up again? Yeah, for a scalp. Okay, and then this one, here's one in the middle. They don't make it there. It'd be get under, over, and then bounce. So you do get a scalp off of, oh, and then look at this one is an exact, oh, that's a different, that's not one of these. That's got a number on it. Another one that lines up immediately with it and doesn't continue up lower. Weird. Such strange behavior. Is this the low? No. Okay, so let's move that. They definitely like to trade over them first before they reject out of it with stars. That seems to be the classic way to play with it. They mess with the level, then they come back in and they test it with, and they bounce, or vice versa, like this, for little scalps. Like, look, put in the level, trade under it, trade over it, come back to the level, bounce off with a star, go higher. And then maybe you just delete the level at that point. And that's just as far as it goes. Because otherwise there's going to be, see, because then you build a new one here. Under, over, under, reject. Yeah. Is there any more black ones up here? This one you don't reach, this one I don't think you reach. Any black, oh, yeah, I got that one. Oh, right here. Man, there's so many. Still. I filtered a bunch of them out. Okay, over the level, under the level, over the level. You'd think it'd bounce, but there's no star up. They get another black one. Yeah, I'm not sure. Some of them just seem like they don't get used at all. Under the level, they immediately reject on the next test for a scalp. Then over the level, and you get another one. And that's the one that just lets it go. There's no retest there. That happens. Okay, here's one. Here's one. Okay, under the level, over the level, under the level, you'd think it would reject right there. It just didn't test it. No star. Under, over, star. This would be the buy. You get a scalp. This would be the sell right here. This one. Over, under, reject off the level with a star. Goes lower. Seems like the stars are the way to go, and I'm pretty sure, see, you don't want to take it a second time. I think it's only for one test. And if you get more than that, like, that's kind of luck. See, like this doesn't even reach it up there. So you'd have to bring it down here and down here. And so you'd have to get over it for the pattern to play out. Oh, but this just goes over it with one bar, under it, comes back, rejects with a star. This one, under, you'd have to get over. See, I don't think I'd take this. I think you want to get over it and then find the rejection with preferably a star. But this one was just a green bar. The green and the orange bars might work too. Here's another one in the middle. Over, under, tries to get over, so it should reject with a star. Not a second time. Yeah, that's tricky. That's definitely sneaky, for sure. But I definitely see when it starts to go sideways, they do use them as not walls, but like checkpoints. You can move it here, I guess. Over, tries to get under, immediately rejects. Tries to get under, immediately rejects. Gets under. Now I'd think they'd try to use it as a bounce point. Oh, it never even reaches it. Okay. That one was like a perfect lineup, and again, it doesn't really do anything. Over, under, over. Now I want to star down. Wow. Why does that keep working? Under, over, under. We need a star on that one. Right? Oh, it printed another. Yeah. See, when it prints another one in the same spot, it messes with it. It's like you need to move it immediately. Ah, so this one got the star. So let's do it in the reverse way. Come back. Which one was this? Oh, this was old. Is there a recent one around here? Right there. This one. Okay. So got behind it. Looked like, and then got under it. Rejected with a star. But got over it again first. Leaves the area, comes back, rejects with a star off the area. It's not as consistent as I was hoping it would be. At least not in this time frame. Okay, black behind, under. It would have to come all the way back and form a star. It doesn't make it. It hits this one instead. Right there, it doesn't do anything. Are there any more in here? There's one. Wow, see, sometimes it does work a lot later. So what's this? This became the support. How does that work? No. It's the same one. No, it's not. It's not. I must have missed it. Not there. Is it that old? I didn't think It is. Weird. Okay, hold on. Let me try something different then. I don't think that's consistent enough. Okay, let me try it on the bigger time frame that I actually trade. Oh, and then we're going to unhide. Hide all studies. Unhide all drawings. That. Okay, and then this one we're going to hide. Okay. And we're going to back up to Monday. Monday. Okay, let's see what the 24 tick does, if it's the same, if it's different. Because in the 16 tick, there's a pattern, but it's not easy. Monday. Okay, so back up. Sunday night. All right, so we start one right here. I don't think I can use that. Maybe I can. Look at that. So behind, back through, retest, star, bounce. That's gotta be it. Okay, so this one would be here. Remove that. See if it comes back to that red line. This one, we're gonna move. Oops, not that. That. We'll just delete these for now because I don't need them right now. And it's too much to look at. I should have erased all lines first. Okay, so do we just not make it back to that one? We might not make it back to that one. Make it back to this. Got behind and then printed another one. And it doesn't work. So when they get behind and print another one, I think you have to move it. They try to use it as support. They get behind. Oh, they print another one. Does that white one stop working? Yep. Okay, so that might be helpful. If we get behind them and they print a new one, you need to move the line. Okay, I can do that. All right, so here's one and here's one. So let's put a line here. We'll color it green. Okay, got behind this one, prints another one before it gets back up. I'm guessing those will not work. Yeah, okay, good. So that's consistent. So let's go back and delete. It's old, right? Yeah, from the first one. So that one did its thing and then it's done. What about the green one? Oh, that's something else. Let's get rid of that. Oh, maybe, no, I think I moved it. Okay, we're gonna switch this. All right. They move up here, and then they move all the way down here. So this gets behind it and then prints another one. So I think you just keep moving that away. I don't think the middle ones will work very well. I think it has to like make a new swing high or swing low. So this one is here at the red line. It doesn't get behind it and it prints another one. I don't know if this is useful. Probably not. Gets behind. It's got to come back. Oh, it prints a new one. So again, I'm guessing that means that old red line is probably not useful anymore. Let's just get rid of all these. Just like this, probably won't be useful once this comes in. Yeah, see, you don't want to take that. Oh, it didn't get behind it though. Okay, so they print another one, so let's move it before getting behind it. Thought I saw a green one, but maybe not. Okay, they print another one. So they get behind it, they get under it, they try to reject, and they print another one. So I think you just have to keep on moving it, is my guess. That one's right on the voodoo range level. I'm sure I'll move it again. Let me see. So above, below, they'd have to reject. They don't. They'll probably print another one. I can erase these for now. Otherwise, it's still the voodoo range level is where the last one was. Nope, just keeps going. Nothing. This is the squeeze into CPI. That's not one, right? Yes, it is. That's one. So this one's here. We'd have to get behind it to activate it, I believe. One way at the high. Interesting. I don't believe we break it, but I'll put a marker there. Maybe we do. I don't remember. Oh, maybe we do. Okay, so here's one here. So what do you do about this? It doesn't get behind it, and it prints another one. We'll see. Here, I'll make this one green, and this one red. Okay, the red one's newer. Oh, and there's another one. So red. Oh, this is CPI. I don't really care about this. They blow right through that one to do the CPI report. We'll see if they come back to that. 7:30. We're going to skip all this to at least like where they started to put in range. Within like a minute or two. Like this. Okay. Don't think we get back up there. Oh, yes, we do. Okay, so this one is at the edge. This one's at an edge. Let's see if we can get behind either of those. Okay, here's a new one without getting behind it. This one is going to be red. Oops, I guess green. And here's another. Okay, so get behind happens here. I doubt this one will be good. Like, oh, unless you just want to take... It might be good just to get the star that shares range once it's beat. The other direction. That might be okay. I don't know. Okay, so here's another one. We're going to move it up here. This one gets beat, and then they put in another one. So I believe this is the level we want for the edge. Notice those other ones just break right through. No, didn't even try to save them. Can't get under it. They save it. Becomes support. No new level. This one, they get behind it. They get under it. They don't come back to it. No setup. That's bound to happen. The red one, same thing. Above it, below it. Does not come back. This one, above it, below it. Comes back into it, rejects. That's the first one I'd actually seen work. Right there. Star is obvious. Okay. So that one works. All right, so now we get, and then the red one does not interact. So let's move it here. Behind, above, it'd have to come back and bounce off a red. It doesn't. This was really close. No reaction. Oh, right here. Star. What's that one? That one seemed to work. Is it that old? Oh, it's the edge. It's the edge. Okay, that makes sense. So perhaps when they make an edge like this, and like this, that one didn't set up. This one did. Okay, it comes up towards it. Doesn't reach it. Comes back, sets up again at the same spot. The old one at the edge. That might be the easiest way to do it. So like this is not an edge. This is edge. Let's see if that has the pattern. Behind, star saves it. Oh, that's definitely not an entry. So it needs to get above it again. I think that's above it. Yep. And they save it. Okay. This one's pretty close to an edge, but it's not an edge. Does this one work? This is definitely not an edge, but this one might be. Get rid of all these zones. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so see, yeah, when this moves, I think you move with it. Otherwise, there's just too many levels. But look how this acts as support and this acts as resistance. These I'm not going to mess with because they're in the middle. I think it's location. Look at that. Green bar off of it, too. So see, this is the edge. Here. And this is very close. Let's see if that one matters. Oh, this is definitely an edge. Test. Can't get below it. Got below it. Oh, and then they put in another one. That did not end up being the edge. They can't get above it. Star, does it rip down? Yep, star rips down. That's nice. That seems to work. Okay, this one's pretty close to an edge. It's got a star on it. It immediately works. They come back up to this one and reject with an orange bar, so it continues to work. This one's star. Oh, and it's a new green dot, so that's an edge. So this one we're going to ignore. This one I don't think is good enough. This one's not a new edge, it's in the middle. Behind, under, it would now have to reject. Yeah, see, they rarely reject if they're not at the edge. But I do think when you get these inverse, when you get the black dot followed by a white star that's in the same range, like this, they get beat by a star. That might be it. If they're in the middle, they may need to get beat by a star. See that? That might be it. For the middle ones. That might work. Okay, hold on, let me just see. So this was under the this one's been around for a long time. It looks like the longer they're around, the worse they work. This is an edge. Let's see, that old edge is actually working. I'll just add it for now. It definitely seems like they work better right away. See, this red one is old. Over. Can't save it. No signal. Well, I got a diamond for a scalp. Doesn't interact. Doesn't interact. This one does and you get a scalp. This one does and you get a scalp. Maybe it does keep working. Eventually it fails with a diamond orange bar. No signal. No trigger. Star down. Orange bar down. Orange bar down. This star down definitely fails. This star down definitely fails. What's this from? Is this recent? It was. Oh, we never got behind it. Never got activated. So it does need to get behind it and then above it. Ah, so it's the green above. It's the green or the white star that's giving you the save here. Oh, okay. This one too. White star saving. See, it got back over it, went under it, got back over it, came back into the green zone, gave us a star up. Now it's bullish. Over the red, came back to the red, gave green up, and that worked. This one printed right on the red line. That's interesting. How that keeps happening. Star up. Oh, didn't get behind it. Needs to get behind it first. Okay, so the most recent one was this one. It's not an definite edge. Star with a green dot. It made an immediate lift. It was a higher low. Well, higher low, yeah, not divergent. And it followed a purple bar. Okay, let's see how they do as immediate triggers. Let's see. I may not need the line extensions. I just put them on there for the time being, but I don't think they're in the right location. The purple is not really in the right place. It's just the middle of the bar. So this one hasn't gotten tested yet, but notice it's got the volume anomaly and a purple bar behind it and immediately works. And it's a higher low. Not the first time I've seen that work. Okay, and then here's one that fails if you tried to sell it immediately. It's not at the edge. You're not making a new apex. Just like this one. Not making a new apex. Not getting behind an apex. This one didn't either, though. This one did. Got behind an apex. Purple bar, star, green dot, good. And honestly, green background with green dot is probably good most of the time, too. This one just had an arrow, and looks like that's not enough. And it wasn't at location. It wasn't lined up with resistance. Neither was this one, and it still worked. It had a star and a star down too before it. This one, triangle up, star. It's got all the signals basically, except for the diamond, and it drops. So it does look like it's a sign of aggression. But note on the downtrend, the up bars will not work immediately. Does this bar work later? I wonder if when they come on a down bar, if we can do the same thing we did with the stars and the green bar. Oh, it's a star already. But yeah, if they save this level, I bet you that becomes support. See, it's resistance until we break above it, I bet. And then it'll probably be support. Now, does it come back? Yep. Dang, that's great. Okay. Okay, so once they get beat, let's try that. That actually might be better. Let's do this. Let's go back. I hadn't thought about that. Let's think about it that way. Let's go back to Sunday night. If they get beat, does the location work for a future pivot? Monday. Just one more time, then I'm going to go eat something. Oh, let me make sure my phone's not going on. Okay. All right, so we're looking for green dots or black dots that get traded behind. Then we're going to mark the area. So this one gets traded behind, right? So we're going to mark the range. And we're going to see if we come back and save it, if it now becomes resistance. Oh, it's support right away, and we got a new one. Support right away, and we got a new one. Okay. When we come back to it, oh, we never do. We never do. Okay. So that just never got taken back and become support, basically. Cool. This one never got traded behind. This one got traded behind. And it's just overlapping in that one. Support, star. Support, new green dot. Never got traded behind. Support, green dot. Now you can't buy a way up the high. You want to get it in the back. Okay, that works. So you'd want to move it up here. No, you don't want to do that. You'd want to keep the lowest one that got retraced. That's the way to think about it. So the lowest bear bar with a black dot that got beat and then retraced. And then it would be the highest green dot. Okay, so this is a very high one. We'd have to get above that. Here, do we get behind this one? We do. Let's see if it works here. Once we get below it, beat, right? Does it then act as support once we get above it again? So now we're above it. Is it now support? Yeah, it's trying. If anything, it became resistance here. Support. 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 Okay, that's pretty cool. Let's see if we have any more out of... So they're out of position dots is the way to think about it. Out of position. So this one wasn't beat until here. And it was not reclaimed. So it'll just act as support only. Yeah. Okay. They put another one in higher. And then the next one works. These guys all get beat way up there. Very, very, very out of position. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's this guy. It's the lowest. Do we come back to this lowest one? Shit, it just goes. Eventually we might. I'll leave it on there. Eventually we might. Okay, so this one is in good position. It's not easily beaten. They beat it. We'll take both of them. Wait till they get beat. It may act as support immediately. Yep. Okay, so when it's bullish and you beat them, their range is just going to be support. That's easy as fuck. That's really easy. So this got beat, becomes support. Shit. Why didn't I do this yesterday? That's okay. Okay. None. No one getting beat. No one okay, this one needs to get beat for it to get activated. It's just support until it gets beat, I bet. So we'll color it purple. And I bet you it acts as support for now. Extend. Yeah. Is that the low? Yeah. And this one needs to get beat. There we go. So this should be support. Unless we get under it, then it should become resistance. Let's see. Oh, this one's even better. It's lower. We'll go all the way down to here. We'll see. Do we want to get as low as possible or what? Now, this is CPI. I don't really care about the price action there. But eventually they come back down. So let's just see. Do those levels we marked, do they interact again? After CPI. Let's check. And then we'll go back and do post CPI. See if the pattern continues even on a big range day. I don't know if it will. It definitely worked yesterday. Okay, we don't reach this one at 10. The low was at noon. 12, 11. It's right here. This is the low. Is it going to reach it? Holy shit! Look at that! Look at that! Oh boy. Oh man. Okay, now I'm going to keep looking. Okay, we have this one. All right, let's go up to... Wow! All right, we're going to back off here to when CPI started to settle down. So we're looking for trap buyers, which would be eventually this guy. Very poorly positioned buyer here. You have to get under him, otherwise it's just support. Yep, so it's support as long as it's bullish. He is the worst position one, right? There's no green dots above him. The worst position buyer. Is that later on resistance? Oh, here's another very, very poorly positioned buyer that gets immediately beat. Oh, and they save it. And so that becomes support then. Is this resistance? Ooh. Nasty. Oh, they fucked with it. Good. During the open, they messed with those levels really bad. Now, there was another one. Where was he? Right here. Let's say I didn't mark these ones because I thought they'd probably be... Well, they didn't get beat. This one did. I mean, this one did. So let's mark the seller who got beat momentarily and then regained. Let's see. Yeah, only a pink bar above him. That's the rejection. Oh, okay. So on the top of the market, it's going to be the seller, and on the bottom of the market, it's going to be the buyer. It's not, okay, wow, that's not what I expected. Well, you don't know really where the top and the bottom is going to be, but that's really what you're looking for. I might have to color them differently. So they come in here. So this guy would need to get beat. It's this one and this one. It's basically one big zone. Okay, they do get beat. Now it's probably rejection. They try. Okay, they come all the way up to the top and reject it. Yeah. See, it's the highest buyer. And so, yeah, highest buyer, lowest seller. There we go. Highest seller. Oh, yeah, see, that's weird. Now he's the highest seller. It was... No, that's the same. I'm confused. This is the highest seller. So we probably stretch that out. I think I'm saying the same thing. We have to beat him for those to really be activated. Otherwise, it's just resistance. There's no dots to the upside here, right? None. It's all just heavy selling. Okay, they get above them. They go back and forth between them. Oh, and then it just rejects. Straight up liquidates. All right, so here's the new one. See, this clearly acts as resistance, right? But let's move this down so I can get these new ones. These are newer. Let's see what they do. Oh, there's another one. So we're getting lower and lower and lower. Oh, and here's the first buyer who gets beat. I'm pretty sure this level is good. So let's just delete it for now. Oh, what did I do? Oh, I hit chart end. Fuck. So wait, is that one eventually good? Yeah, it is. It is good. That purple one is good. Jeez. Pink bar, rejection, under. Pink bar, rejection, under. So when you can only get a pink bar into these areas, or just a star or an aggressive bar, they immediately reject. See that? Reject. And that was a buyer who we traded under. And so here's another one. Again, eventually we're going to get too low to mark buyers or too high to mark sellers, I think. But we're going to, let's follow this down. So this is like the same exact area overlapping. That probably creates some problems. So this is clearly support. So let's move this up. And let's say this buyer is a little bit higher. Yeah, so is that. See, it becomes, it gets choppy. Okay, so now this seller, this is interesting. This seller comes in lower than a previous buyer. Does that create a break? Oh. Right? Do I have that right? Or were these all sellers? Wasn't there a buyer up here? Yeah. See, there was a buyer. We got under him. Buyer got under him. We eventually got a seller to come in lower than that. Right here. Seller, very low, below a buyer. That seller gets trapped. That zone, stars give you huge moves. That is freaking great. It took me a minute to figure this out, you guys. If you're still with me, that is freaking cool. So what's the pattern there? It's green, but for the buy, it's make a green dot, get behind, reject. Put a sell dot, a black dot, below that, and trade above them. Then that guy is the range you want to get long once you break above. Okay, so the exact opposite should be the case on the top side. If we get sellers up high, right, and then wait. Yeah, if we get sellers up high, then put in a buyer above him. We should be able to trap that buyer, and that will become resistance. That's why it seems like sometimes it's the higher buyer and sometimes it's the lower buyer. It depends if there's a seller around him. So see, this one is a very low seller that never gets beat. That's the one that's going to create the big extension. Because he's sharing, I bet you he's sharing a zone with a seller that's from before. Yep. Seller. So this seller and this buyer had the same range. So whoever gains that range, see how it becomes resistance here? It'll become support once we break over it. Now it's support. So when they're lined up, it's a perfect pivot. Jeez. That's freaking powerful if that is consistent. It definitely worked yesterday and today. Oh, that's exciting. Okay, buyer way up high. We have to get under him. Oh, this is now. So this buyer is currently the low of the rotation, right? We'd have to get under him and print a seller, then get above that seller to go higher. To get lower, we need to not have sellers trapped. So we need the sells to be up here to print a buyer, get behind him, basically. And then if we can get under him and then not trap a seller, that's basically the idea. Okay, so let me see if this works on the top. Now that I know the pattern, right? Let's go to like the 40 tick. Much bigger. Twice as high, basically. And let's see if that same trap pattern works. Let's see. And then I've been doing this for 3 hours, and I'll go get something to eat. Oh wow, I've fasted for 19 hours on accident. Okay, got a little bit carried away. All right, so here's last Thursday. All right, because it obviously works today and yesterday. So let's go back a little further. Okay, so we've got, I just want to know the structure here. I'm not trying to cheat. It'd be nice to know that we've got a move coming. It'll be faster. Okay, so this is a lot of chop. Okay, so there's the drop. Do I have any up here? If I've got buyers up here, I can confirm. Yeah. Okay, so there's a seller. Mark him. Seller. Okay. Is there a buyer higher? A higher buyer. A higher seller. So no buyer at the high. Oh, we're not at the high yet. Oh, that's as far back as I can go. Okay, let's see. Seller. Oh, buyer, right here. I found him. Extend. Okay. Buyer, it was the low. It's support, right? We get a seller nearby who tries to push down. We get behind the seller and then reject, right? So seller gets stopped out. Now buyer gets stopped out. Now this whole area should be resistance. Resistance. Yeah. It just never gets back up there. That's fine. That makes sense. That guy's trapped. Okay, another seller comes in the market.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Alexa, go home. Stop listening. Okay, so seller doesn't get trapped. See that? We get above him, we immediately reject. So once you've got momentum, you can take traps back into these bars. Okay. Note to self. All right, we totally liquidate. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Lots of volume, but no divergence bars. Nothing, nothing, nothing. They don't show up all that often. And the higher the time frame, the less we're going to see them, obviously, in the same amount of time. Because you just have less bars. I don't think I'm missing any. There's one. Okay, seller is this one. Okay, we are now, are we above or below where we were before? Way below. So this seller could get trapped, right? Because we've got a buyer who used to be trapped, and now we got way low. We put in a seller, we get above them, we get below them. They try to reject and fail. They get above them. That guy's trapped. Is it support in the future? That would be nice. Very nice. They may not give it to us. Oh, another seller comes in and he gets immediately trapped. So that guy's probably done below. This seller has a little success and is trapped. Right? There. Now it's support. Boom. I even marked that one. Okay, buyer tries to get trapped, right? They try to trap this guy. Oh, this is the CPI. Let's just see if the CPI respects those old levels. I don't really want to draw the levels off CPI because it's just so much info. But look how that level becomes support at the lows. And then we put in another green dot with a star, and that's the rocket. So once you got the trapped seller, remember this was a seller before, it was a black dot before. And now we've got a green dot in the same area, and boom, off to the races. See, and then they try to trap the buyer, but instead they trap this seller. They try to save him. All you have to do is get above this guy and it goes higher. Get above this guy, it goes higher. Right there. Now this should be support. Any pullback should be bought. you got to be really careful. This one would have stopped you a little bit. The green dot is the confirmation. This has got to work. Black is beat and trapped. Green dot becomes the buy. That's going to be hard to... look at that. They tried it twice. That's your buy. It works. It does work. It does work. Sometimes it's going to have to... You're going to get 10 or 20 and then have to try again. But it does definitely work. Trap a seller, print a buyer, follow in. That's the pattern. Here's a buyer, right, where the seller was. They trap him. They release him. Now go higher. That's support. That's support. Look at that. Okay. Wow. I'm impressed, to say the least. Okay, so hold on. Let me erase some of these. I don't think... Oh, were these from earlier? These were from earlier. So this is just another seller. Hide. Chart drawings from other charts. Oh, there we go. It is. It's another seller. Oh, hold on. I think that's my phone. Nope. So that was an earlier seller from before CPI. We get above them. We put in. They try to save it. The green dot comes right where that seller was, and it becomes a buy. So this pattern, even if it's not lined up close like this, but it's far away, where it's black dot, rise, come back down, print a green dot, is a buy. That works beautifully. Okay, so now I wonder if we have to scoot this up, and that becomes support. There's a green one, so let's mark that in case, because eventually I'm pretty sure we let this go. Extend the line. So if we get under that and then print a seller, it's a sell. Okay, seller way up high. You have to get above him and then print a buyer for that to be trapped. Get above him, CPI. We come back into that one. We try. Okay, let's back up just a little bit. See if we can catch the top here. Okay, seller. This is good. Seller at the high. Right? That needs to get beat for buyers to go higher. They try. They get a trap back in. That trade is going to work a lot because this is a resistance. We got above them. They trap back into them. That trade should work as long as you're at location. If you miss it, star into it. Should work. Star in, star out of the area. Okay, that's the lower odds trade and the slower trade. The better trade is to get above him and then print a green dot. Or in this case, getting a buyer, getting below him, and then printing a black dot. Okay, green dot, right? So this one was an old one. They printed a new green dot. I'm guessing it's like this was resistance, right? It's still resistance. But see, this continues to work, but I bet we can, I was thinking we might be able to extend this. Oh, I can't. Okay. I think you can probably just draw another one. And now once you get under this, the resistance could react as soon as this rather than up here. So now it's the top of the lower one, top of the higher one, top of the higher one. We print that black dot, and that is the sell. Oh, wow. It works on all the time frames. Okay, I'm going to go back to the 16 tick in a minute. I could do this all night. This is crazy. Okay, so here's the seller in the area where the buyer used to be, right? So this is all support now. We're gonna change this to a seller. If you get a green dot in this area, it's a buy. They get a star, that's a scalp. They get a green bar, that's probably a scalp. Oh, we haven't gotten it yet. Okay. Oh, but interesting, they put a seller up here too. So seller, did this seller get beat? This seller did not get, yes it did. He got beat. So we need a green dot to confirm, and they just didn't get it. They got a star instead, so it's just scalping. Scalping out of the area, scalping out of the area. No green dots. green bar, diamond, scalp out, or stretch out of the area, but nothing really to do. So let's try that same trick. Whoops. With the 16 tick. Real quick. We're about to open, by the way. Okay, unchart, hide drawings from other charts. Okay, so we need black and green dots basically lining up with each other. So here's a black dot. Gets trapped, comes back in short. Black dot. Black dot has some success. Gets trapped. If we get a green dot here, it'd be a long. Let's see if we can get a green dot out of here. A star, I'm pretty sure would be good to buy too. We haven't trapped him very much though. We only trapped him by 1 bar. I'm not sure if that's enough. Let's take the green box. We'll take the green. Let's see if we can put a stop at the bottom of this, and that's a green bar, but it might be good enough. So 51 is the stop. A little bit. This is a little bit experimental. I probably should be doing this with micros. I'm not sure if the green box down there works all the time. This is very experimental. I really wanted a green dot. I got a little bit overexcited there. But I see this, and then this is a higher low, and we're in the area of this seller that seems to have gotten trapped. They're at least trying to hold this area. So I'm pretty sure we can get a scalp out of it pretty often. But what I haven't gone back to see who else is trading in this area. And if we have a trapped buyer up here, it won't work. Because then we're going to run into that resistance. And I'm just not sure. I don't see one off the bat, but here's the last buyer. So here's the last buyer. It seems to be working. That's the last buyer, right? We can't get under him. That's support. That's support. This guy now is getting trapped. And then any dip into here, especially if it has a green dot, could be bought then. I just bought ahead of time. I'm going to see if I can get 8 points here. That's probably good enough. It's a pink bar. I'm going to take it. The pink bar kind of means, like, if you're scalping, the pink bar is like, oh, be a little careful. Like, be cautious. I could just hold it there. I took 6 points. Quick $110. Pay for dinner. They probably do keep going. I just, like I said, I didn't get the exact signal I wanted. I got a little bit antsy. And it's just purple bar, green bar, and I see it as bullish because support is holding. And I'm identifying now that these green dots that don't get traded under become support. They trade under it, they can't get volume under it. It's going to be support until it's not. But then they're probably going to target, on this tiny time frame, they're going to target this guy. That's your target. Let's just see if this works. Like I said, I got out of the trade just for a quick $100 scalp. Which is something, but I want to see if they might turn it around up there. Here, while we wait, let's see if ES does the same thing, because we're just now on a trade, so I don't really care. Let's see if we can find the same pattern on the ES 6 tick. Oops, I kind of want to watch what happens over there though. Okay, on the ES 6 tick, what we'd be looking for is trap buyers or trap sellers. So black dot or green dot. No, and they'll have extension lines for now. I'm gonna remove the extension lines, but it's helping me find them for now. I'm not gonna keep them on there. I don't know why that one's marked. Must have been for some other here. Okay, seller. And this is why sellers at the edges seem to, and the buyers at the edges seem to work. Oh, see, this is going to go higher. I probably could have just held that. I didn't love my location, and I didn't feel like I had a good reason to get in. So seller acts as resistance until beat. Oh, he's not beat. That's exactly the inverse of what I was doing here. Is buyer was acting as support till beat. Okay, seller is beat, right? This area should be support. And if we get a green bar there, it can run. If we get a star or green bar, it can get scalped up. Yep. Totally the same. It's exactly the same on ES. Look, I could have held that. It's going right here. I could have held that. That could have been a $400, $500, $600 move, I bet. Look at this. They hold it. Look at that. Wow. Okay, so now they reject it. Now, is it resistance? This one is not properly marked. It is. It's just from a different chart, I think. Okay, they get under it. Oh, they trap them again. Now is it support again? Yep. Well, that's interesting. On a higher time frame, they probably add another one because it's starting to pivot above it. Yeah, that's where we are. It's bullish. Okay, let me back up just a little bit more on ES and see if I can't find another one. They don't show up very much on ES. I might have to adjust that. Oh, did I miss one? I think I saw one. Here. Okay, so here's a buyer. Here's the buyer. We trade under him. We trade over him. We trade under him. Now, so once we get under, a rejection of that area normally could be sold. But particularly if we come back up there and find a black dot, it should work really well. Oh, we don't get back up there, do we? I don't think we get back up there. We don't get back up there. Okay. But he's very fucked. That guy's in big trouble here. This guy's in big trouble. We're trading way below him. So it's bullish until it gets to 40.85. And then it's big trouble for that guy. Okay, looking for more signals. Black and green dots. Here's one. Okay, green dot. We're just going to move this down. Green dot. Trade under, right? Reject. Did I do this one already? Reject. Reject with a diamond. Reject with a diamond. The star doesn't work this time. Reject with the orange. There's no black dots anywhere in here. Reject with the orange. We get over them. Now it's probably... Oh, interesting. Okay, no. That was not as smooth, but there was another one or two put in, so maybe they only work once. Oh, and he's at the lows at the time, so this is support at the moment. A trap back in here would usually work. Didn't trap. Okay, so we need like up and down ranging markets for this to target. Oh, here we go. Buyer. I should have held that. Extend. We get under the buyer. They don't reject it. We get over the buyer. It becomes support. Boom. Get under the buyer. Reject on stars. Scalp down. Scalp down. Scalp down on a star. There's no seller down here, but that does work. Okay. There's no sell sign on this time frame. Yeah, I might need to adjust it on ES. It just doesn't show up very often. Okay, here's another one. It's a buyer. Particularly the sellers don't seem to be showing up very often. Extend. All right, they try to bounce, right? That's not a, you have to be really bullish and it's not. Oh, here's the seller right here. Let me just put the seller in case we come back up to him too. So the seller's on top, the buyer's on the bottom. This is where they're supposed to be. This can create chop, right? Was there any before it in the same zone? No. Okay, so, oh wait, yes there was, right here. Shit. This is gonna get choppy, I bet. So, and bearish. We got a buyer, a seller above him that pushes through the buyer. The buyer's now trapped, right? So this by itself is a pretty good entry because you're trading right into this buyer if you have any guess that it might be bearish, and here you did. So it makes sense to sell this right away because this guy's very vulnerable. He's not even at the edge, and if he gets beaten, he'll be trapped. Now if we come back to that area here, I'll change the color to like red. If we go back to the red, it's pretty much the same as the other ones. Let's change it to blue. Oh my God, my I can't see any of these freaking natural colors. Orange. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Blue. If we come back there, it should be a good sell if they reject out of it, especially the top. Oh, they just save it. Okay. So they just rip right through it. Interesting. No setup, just didn't hold. What if we come back to it? They try to hold it. Oh, they put in another buy bar. Does that become support? No, it gets beaten. So now he's beaten too. Now that's got to be resistance. Huh. Nope, no setup, no star. Right over it, it becomes support. Now they test it under it. Now it's resistance with that star. Yeah, resistance. It's the same spot as we did before. But it did get kind of choppy in there. All right, you got a lot of extra little wiggles. Okay. Did this one. Did that one. We didn't get back to here, right? Maybe we did. Let's see. Right, this is right above us. Okay, so did we get back there? Up here. Oh, we didn't quite reach it. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Can only get a pink bar above it. And actually, that even didn't get volume above it. As soon as volume gets above it, we get a star. It's a rejection. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Definitely works on USD. I totally should have held that. I knew I should have too. I was just like, yeah, this is off process. I shouldn't be trading this. It totally works. This is cool. Okay, here's one. Seller. Seller's here. All right, we get over them. That first bounce is not very reliable. We get under them. Now it's bearish. We want retests of that area with stars for these didn't reach it. We want the star or the green bar or the green. No, it was not a green bar. It's a black dot. So yeah, I don't think we reach it. That's too bad. That one just wasn't reached. Okay. Not a problem. No trade. No setup. Oh, this is CPI. I don't care about this. Back before 7:30. Back. Okay. So that's right before CPI. No, I don't want to trade that. Here we go. Black dot gets immediately beat. Oops. Was there a green dot in the general area? No, it was all bullish all the time. Okay. Any more back here? Here's one at the low. So this guy is probably support. Unless broken. Is there a black dot before it? Because then he's definitely going to squeeze. And that explains the big squeeze pre-market. Before CPI. I don't see a black dot in that area. Was it above him but before? Another one down here. This one was also really well positioned. So when they're at support, those green dots are awesome. Oh, here we go. Seller. So this is Sunday. I forgot about that. So you've got buyer and then seller immediately there. That's going to create a fall, right? But once you get over this, that seller's trapped. So if you get a green bar in this zone, it's going to squeeze. Green. Yeah. Yep. Makes sense. And a green, yeah, and then it goes. Okay, let's see if it comes back to any of those levels during CPI, and then I'll go eat. Did I get that black one? Yeah, I want to know if that one holds. See, you look, the star right off that black level holds. Holds. Look at that. Okay, here's CPI. Do they respect that level at all when they come back down? Let's see. Such a tiny time frame. Takes forever to go anywhere. Okay. Oh, I don't know if it gets down there. These are new. Those are new levels. New levels. Okay, there we go. So that one was old and it acts as beautiful support. That old buyer. That's cool. Right there. That's from after CPI though. This one's from before CPI. Does that still work here? Above it, below it, above it, you'd think it'd be green bars could be bought. Purple bar, green bar, scalp. Under it, star down, scalp down. Wow! Star down, scalp down. Look at that. This one is clearly support. He's now beat. Now it's resistance. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Get above it. Nope. Failed. This is interesting because he prints another one. How does that work? It stretches it. Yeah. And they just get beat. Does that... Do we reject out of there again? Look at that. Reject, reject, reject to the star, go down. Okay, back up. Tries to reject. Green bar saves it. Pink bar star, back to the bottom of the range. Yep. Green bar saves it. Over and over and over again. So see how choppy it gets when it gets stuck in between these levels? Hard trading. No new signals here, just got over it. Oh, and then gave it up. Eventually they stop working. Now does it act as resistance? Nope. Back to chop. Now it acts as support. Now it's good to go. All of a sudden reactivated. Star, green bars, everything bullish. Wow. Okay. I know what I'm going to be working on. This is pretty cool. I'll see if I can like break it down into like a smaller video and show some examples of it later this week. So I hope you guys learned something. That's very, very exciting. I look forward to sharing how this is going. And like I said, if you got more questions, you guys just DM me on Twitter or just follow me at least at Red Ben Trader. And like I said, the Trading Perform Room is closed for new members right now. I don't think he's going to do the 5-day free pass for a bit. But you can always get put on a waiting list though. So if you are interested in learning and you don't mind waiting a month or so, we'll see if we can reorganize a little bit. And yeah, he'll probably put you on a waiting list. But if you want to contact Simon, tradeandperform@gmail.com. Let him know you meant that you found them